Hey everyone, your host Nick here, and you're listening to the official podcast of 4PlayerNetwork.com. First, I want to remind you that we are a fully independent podcast, quite literally just a group of friends who have met once a week since 2008 to talk about video games. If you like our show, the best thing you can do for us is be active in our community. I recommend Discord. You can subscribe to our show, leave us a review on your preferred podcast service, or, if you're so inclined, bless us with your patronage on Patreon or Twitch. If you're new, all you need to know is this. We record these shows live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central on Twitch, and the audio version launches on all podcast services on Friday morning. Patreon and Twitch supporters will even get the show a day early on Thursdays. But if you want to know more about any of this, about what we do, or find all the important links you need, simply visit us at 4playernetwork.com. And that's it. This is the only ad you'll ever hear on this show. So, with that said, thank you for listening. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode 780. It is January 18th, 2024, and welcome to the first quote-unquote regular show of the year for us. My name is Nick Henderson. I'm your host this evening, and I'm joined by Brad Simons.
Hello, you can call me Bominicious.
Bominicious, okay.
Never mind, just keep going.
And Christopher Davis.
I'm also here, but kind of confused by Bominicious.
And luckily, you're not choosing a nickname tonight, so that's good.
I choose not to. It's going to be always Chris Davis, whether I like it or not.
Yes, absolutely. It is still one of those things where sometimes I occasionally call you. Sometimes I'll be typing your name and I'll just write Chris, and I feel gross, so I have to add Davis on there.
At this point, I'm just glad that there's a space between Chris and Davis at this point.
I'd rather call him Davis than Chris.
Yeah, me too. I think you're onto something there. If I ever didn't call you Chris Davis, I would go for Davis first.
Yeah.
What if that just became your new nickname for 2024? We just started calling you Davis. What if we can make that stick for the entire year?
That's not good enough.
I don't approve.
That's like his teacher would call him Davis.
Anyways, guys, welcome to the show. As you can tell, we're running a little bit of a quote unquote skeleton crew tonight, but we have a lot to talk about. Today was we're gonna kick the year off with some indies, right? I know, Brad, you brought a few indies you want to talk about, and Chris Davis, you have a game.
Are they indies though? I mean, do we know?
The line has been blurred ever since.
I mean, we do have an indie game to talk about tonight.
Not you, Chris Davis.
Potentially the indie game of the year.
No, shut up. My joke was going to be better, and you just steamrolled all over it.
Fuck off, Brad.
I just got the joke. That was actually really funny.
All knew the pun was coming. You just didn't even try. You just said it. You didn't even try. There was a joke there.
Everybody just rewind, back up, and pretend like Chris Davis never butchered the joke.
The moment is gone. Nope, it's gone. Continue.
All right. Well, we are going to talk about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which, by the way, is kind of an underwhelming subtitle. Does anyone else feel that way?
Not just underwhelming, bad.
It's pretty bad. Like, it doesn't have that
Great Circle.
It doesn't have that I think it's the use of the word "great" specifically. It doesn't have that
and circle.
And circle. Yeah, those are both. Yeah. Oh my God, those are some vanilla ass words pushed together that just make a vanilla ass subtitle. It's very strange. But hey, we're gonna talk about
stand around in a great circle and hold hands. I don't know. It's just not.
Yeah. Sterling Sky says Indiana Jones and the Spectacular Rhombus would have been
the Rhombus of Ruin. That was already used.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, unfortunately,
that's true. But anyways, maybe it'll make more sense after
Indiana Jones and the Primeval Pentagon.
We have a whole show.
I wish Crispy could be here. I wish Crispy could be here.
What makes you say that? I mean, I always wish Crispy
it was a reaction that he had in Discord earlier. Apparently, he did not catch up on had not caught up on all the Indiana Jones stuff, and he had a reaction. And I was like, man, I wish he was on the podcast. But oh well, we'll talk about it.
His moment will come. But yeah, as you can tell, today was the big Microsoft Developer Direct thing. So we got our first look at Machine Games, Indiana Jones, and The Great Circle. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about our first look. Well, not really our first look. We've seen it before. We got a closer look, I guess, at Avowed, and we got a release date and a closer look at Hellblade 2, which we'll talk about as well.
Did we get a closer look at it?
Yeah,
I mean, if you
I
think
think
about
so.
it, it's a more distant look.
Here's the thing. I think I have a much better idea of what to expect from that game after today's thing, one way or the other. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about all this stuff. But of course, I want to remind everybody, if you're listening at home, if you missed it, last week was our 2023 award show. Ed joined us. We had a full 6-person crew. We went through all of our award categories for the year, had some great conversations about some of our favorite and maybe least favorite games of last year. So check it out. And we are hard at work on our top 10 videos. Those of us who are doing one, actually everyone on this particular episode is doing one.
Yeah.
So you'll expect our top 10 list to be coming out very soon. In fact, Chris Davis, I think you pretty much got like 98 or 95% of the way through getting the our usual like music video like montage that we play at the beginning of our video done last night, which was cool.
Yeah, I traded out some footage this evening, but I think it's good. I think we're ready.
Good. It turned out very good. I'm very excited, and we'll be showing that on we'll be releasing that, I guess, on probably on social media and in Discord and stuff to kind of whet people's appetites, I suppose.
The biggest sweat for me when making these videos is finding the right music track. I am a very particular motherfucker, and you can only find so much through OC Remix and other places at which you can get the actual Creative Commons usage license. So
yeah. Well, somehow you always manage to pull it off. So I think this one turned out pretty good. So we'll be showing that here pretty soon. Also, shout out to Chai Tai last night, who turned up. Chris Davis had a very specific request for me. He was like, "Can you record the intro to Street Fighter 6?" Right?
I was like, surely there's some kind of really flashy intro for Street Fighter 6. So let
me tell you, I installed Street Fighter 6 for the first time ever last night so I can capture footage of the intro, and found out within 5 minutes that, okay, there really isn't an obvious, like, clean intro. And Chai Tai was like, yeah, in order to get the cool videos, like character videos, cinematics, whatever that you're thinking of, you have to, like, either get really good at the game and do, like, some really flashy shit in combat, or you have to play for hours and hours and hours and whatnot to unlock those cinematics. So Chai Tai swooped in, and within 20 minutes we had some good footage. So you'll see that turn up in our top 10 video.
The first and last time you play Street Fighter 6, Nick?
I mean, I don't want to say yes because I do want to play it, but it's just, what are the odds, right? What are the fucking odds? I'm going to find time to play Street Fighter 6. 2023 is so yesterday, and I'm still playing Baldur's Gate. I'm still playing Starfield. I'm still playing Lies of P. What the fuck?
Nick, 2024, I finished Baldur's Gate. I'm just gonna, you get to that one when you get to it.
I'm actually really excited
because Game of the Year's done.
We were talking before the show, and I finally installed Sunshine and Moonlight on my Steam Deck. So one of the games I'm really kind of eager to try maybe is Baldur's Gate. Although the thing about Baldur's Gate is I'm not a super big fan of gamepad support.
Oh, I thought you played with the gamepad.
No. I played the first 10 hours with the gamepad, and then I switched to mouse and keyboard.
Gamepad. It worked.
I know. I mean, it's not terrible. It's much better than you would ever assume for a game like that. But I don't know if I want to. And also, I would be going back and forth, and I feel like I should just get really good at one of them and not confuse myself. But I'm gonna try it, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, 2023 is technically in the past, and I do think we're still aiming to have our videos out by the end of the month. So hopefully that goes pretty well. But we'll see. And but it's 2024, baby. I picked up Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown. I haven't started it yet, but that's one of the games That's actually the main reason.
That came out today.
Yeah, that's like the main reason I'm moving forward with Moonlight, because that looks and feels like it should be a perfect handheld game, and they didn't release it on Steam. You have to buy it through the stupid Ubisoft Connect store or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of what I did. But anyways,
remember we were talking about that? People were playing it early because they had early access.
Oh, okay.
They did an early access thing if you subbed to Ubisoft Plus. So people were just buying a month of Ubisoft Plus just so they can play the $50 Prince of Persia.
But speaking of,
and early.
Speaking of, because little fantasy critic update here. I want to try and maybe in the 2024 just kind of pick and choose when we like really dive deep into fantasy critic and stuff, because doing it every week is a bit much. But Prince of Persia was like the first major release of the year, and it's the first game that was drafted during our fantasy critic draft, which we did 2 weeks ago or 2 shows ago. Go check that out. It was the first game to release, first game with points on the board, and that was on Ed's.
Counterpicked.
And counterpicked. It's Ed is starting out strong. That game picked up. It's like sitting at 87 right
points.
now. 16,
86.
17 points. Yeah,
16 points for Ed, minus 16 for Nolan. But
right,
the other big fantasy critic news is we have to talk about this. We have to talk about this. I told people to wait that we talk about it on the podcast, so we have to talk about
I was just basically saying that, we don't have to talk about it every single week, but
No,
obviously
but we
there's
have
going to
to
be
talk
relevant
about
moments to talk about it.
This
So we
is
can talk about
this is our
we can talk about
first
it now.
podcast post draft where we actually can discuss things. So we have to talk about it tonight, especially because something came up. As soon as
before you proceed, I just want to remind everybody, we are this year, as opposed to last year, we're doing community leagues now. So we have 4-player community league with, I think, 5 people each, right?
I think
it's 5.
Except for League 2,
which has 6,
or whatever that has 6.
So we have 4 community leagues running concurrently with ours, and if you want to kind of like check out how those are going, you can talk to everybody who's participating, and you can follow their leagues. The links are if you go to our Discord and go to the welcome channel at the top, I've posted the direct links to all of those fantasy critics leagues. And it's been great so far. I think people are enjoying it.
It's been cool. I streamed on Tuesday. If you check out the stream archive,
you reviewed people's drafts.
I reviewed people's drafts, like for all of the community leagues. So if you want to see that, you can see who's doing really well and some people who are tragically not doing so well. So
I don't want to call anybody out, but I do think it was if it was it
Mr.
Green Toast? Green Toast, his entire draft was counterpicked.
His entire draft was counterpicked. With good reason on some of those. Jesus.
Maybe it'll pay off. Maybe he's living dangerously. Maybe it'll pay off.
Nope, it will not. He made mistakes. But speaking of mistakes, so as soon as Prince of Persia dropped,
right,
it dropped with it was like an 87, or it was like an 87, and I was like, oh shit. There was like pretty much every league someone had drafted that, and and in more than a couple leagues someone counterpicked it, and I was like, oh shit, Mayday. We are halfway through January, and we may have had a few people who already killed their league, right? And if you remember during the draft, in the podcast we actually had before the draft, when we decided, basically I brought up the idea of how some leagues do this super drop, and the whole idea is just kind of like rubber banding, right? Delete your worst mistake. You have to buy the super drop, but you can delete your worst mistake. And the idea is we're trying to prevent red fall situations, right? Which is what we referred to as Nick's huge, draft mistake. Honestly, I don't think anyone really.
It killed my momentum. It killed my enthusiasm for the second half of the year. Last year.
And we don't want that to happen. We want people to take a huge L, but not feel like they're already out. And the reality is, bad counter picks can take you out of the game. I mean, if you look at Carlos counter picking Alan Wake 2, that's probably what put him in last place last year, right? So the idea was let everybody drop their lowest test score, that sort of situation. And sure enough, that got me thinking, oh shit, can you actually drop counter picks? Because we talked about it on the podcast, and when I did my research, I found out, well, you can drop a game that was counterpicked by someone else. And when I was digging into it, I was like, okay, but that person who counterpicked still has that counterpicked, right? Which means if someone could drop, let's say something scored poorly, and someone wanted to drop it. If someone counterpicked it, they still lose those points. Like if it say scores a 75, they still lose 5 points, even if the person who picked it drops it. So that got me thinking, okay, well, you can't super drop a counterpick. That's what that tells me. But when I read the FAQ and asked around, it's like, no, you can also drop a counterpick. And the truth is, counterpicks are the biggest point screwers, and like, I mean, honestly, those are like the biggest points loss in the game. So it's like everyone's going to want to drop their counter picks, and this is where we ran into issues. It was first, are we going to like allow people to do that? It's in the rules. People can do it right now if they want. We didn't explicitly say you can't drop your counter picks. We just didn't know. Everyone um, drafted with the idea that you can't drop a counter pick for the most part. Not everyone. Some people said, well, I actually read the site and it said you can drop a counter pick. Your
So real
counter
quick,
pick.
just to clarify,
Yeah.
if you say
With the
someone
super
picks
drop, with the super drop.
right. So if somebody drafts something, like say I drafted Redfall, and
Yeah.
then you counterpicked Redfall, and then I used my super drop to get rid of Redfall, it still stays on your list.
Yeah, I
And
I
you
still would
would
have got
still
like
lose
11 points or whatever. No, I would have gained points in that situation.
But right. But the and this is as I understand it, you still are required to have a certain number of counterpicks on your list, so you would have to
Okay, so
find
this is what we're going
a
to talk about.
replacement.
This is the controversy. This is the controversy, right? Um Now there is still one thing I don't really understand is if I drop a counter pick, does the lock go away for the person who got counter picked? Or can they drop it using their like unconditional drop? I don't know.
It's
We still got to find that out. That's less of an issue, honestly. Because the other issue is more pressing with like Prince of Persia and everything. So here's the deal. We allow the I'm and I talked with Ed about it. We streamed about it. I had there's our stream in the archive where I talked a lot about it. But the idea is that we allow the super drops to drop a counter pick. The whole reason we introduced the super drop in the first place is to give everybody a chance. We don't want one mistake to screw someone over. I think in the spirit of that, we allow it. It's also just the rules, right? Anyone can do it right now. For us to block it, it would have to be a house rule, and we never mentioned that during the draft. Now
right.
it makes it a little weird because we all drafted, or a lot of us drafted, thinking that you couldn't drop a counter pick. So maybe that would have kind of changed the way people did their counter picks. You know what I mean? But in reality, the riskier game in the first place probably may have not have been drafted if people only thought they could use their counter picks on draft games. So that's besides the point. I think we allow people to drop their counter pick, meaning, if Nolan wants to buy the super drop, he can drop Prince of Persia, which is, huge because he loses a lot of points on that. The question is what you do after that, because we did have a house rule saying that you can only our counter picks have to be during the draft, and we enforce that not just for ourselves, but we enforce it for the community leagues, which means our counter picks could not be done throughout the year. In fact, on the podcast when we discussed the rules, and I kind of went through and asked everyone their opinions on them, when the idea came up of would we allow counter picks during the year, no one really liked that idea. We all agreed to do counter picks only during the draft.
Right.
So the question is, what do you do with that empty spot? Now, the problem is the base rules of the game are set up to where if you have an empty counter pick spot, it's a minus by the end of the year, you
Minus
lose
15
15
points.
points. Now, that only exists because some people allow counter picks in the middle of the year or throughout the year. And the whole point is like, don't, you know, twiddle your thumbs. You need to get it done,
I mean,
right?
to me, the
You need
answer
to do a
seems pretty
counter pick.
obvious.
Well,
Maybe I'm
hold on,
okay.
hold on. So the 15 points less doesn't make sense, right? Because we don't allow counter picks in the middle of the year. We did our counter picks at the beginning. The question is, how do you handle that empty spot? I don't think we should allow someone to counter pick something else because it incentivizes, like, we made a house rule to only do it during the draft. That's like the only house rule that we had. People should not be able to use a super drop to drop like their biggest L and like snipe someone else's game, halfway through the year when we've not heard about, like, we haven't heard a trailer, we haven't had like a presentation about it recently, like
Can we
Donkey
just
Kong, for
turn
example, right? If we're halfway through the year and there's still not a Donkey Kong trailer or announcement, then it's pretty shitty that someone can use their super drop to get rid of their counter pick just to counter pick someone else's game when everyone else had to do their counter picks
I guess that's
during the
true.
draft. I mean, it's bullshit, right? And it honestly leads to like the shenanigans and like the fucking
I'm
shittiness that we kind of don't want.
I'm hoping you
So
have a solution that you're getting to.
yes, and I
Okay.
talked about this with Ed, and this is to allow people to buy, a super drop for counterpicks, which is very tempting, right? I mean, if you're going to lose points at all in the league, it's probably going to be on something that got that you counterpicked, right?
Unless you get redfalled.
No, but even then, but you see, here's the thing, right? Like you lost less points on Redfall than like Crispy did counterpicking MK, then Chris Davis did counterpicking Armor Core, then Nolan did counterpicking Hogwarts. You lost less points. Counterpicks are way more dangerous than even a game that gets under 70 because it's guaranteed serious points loss. So it is going to open up the appeal of buying a super drop kind of across the board. You know, it's really going to help your league if your counter picks were kind of rough, and everyone's kind of were this year because
what's the solution, Brad?
So the solution is I think the thing that made sense to me is you can't do a new counter pick, but counter picks are something that's supposed to be dangerous and supposed to be tough. So just because you got rid of a bad one doesn't mean you should skate with basically 0 points, which in terms of like counter picks is actually a really good like situation to be in, right? So it would almost be like a double win to drop a counter pick. So my solution is you do take a points loss, just not -15. -15 kind of defeats the whole purpose of using a super drop on a counter pick, because I mean that's basically like having counter picked an 85 or an 86 in terms of Prince of Persia. So if we like change it to anywhere between like -5 to -8 points, it's like you dropped your like tragic counter pick of 87, but maybe
instead of losing
you
17 points, you're going to lose 5.
You're going to lose 5 points. It's like you counterpicked a 75, which is a good situation to be in because even a 75 is a good counterpick. That's why I think maybe it should even be a little higher.
We
like
would just have to manually override that point.
We would, but with super drops you have to do that anyways. So
okay, cool.
So,
boom.
I mean,
solution.
Does that make sense? And
yeah, no, it makes sense to me.
Okay with that?
Well, this is a live podcast.
That's sort of the conclusion that me and Ed came to, as far as like if we don't allow people to counterpick again, which again was a fucking house rule. I don't think we can do it. We don't want people to do that. That's why we kept them in the draft. So
I'm okay with it. Let's just keep an eye on it and see. So, I mean,
so I think the points loss should be like -7. Does that make sense? It's kind of like a half of that 15, right? Instead of -15, you're losing -7 because -15 kind of defeats the whole purpose. And again,
-7 is just such an odd. I mean, it literally is an odd number. Just
like no, I mean it's like you counterpicked a 77, which is actually like okay, right?
Okay,
but yeah, that's where I'm at.
All right, cool. I feel like I wish I had a gavel so I could like slam it, and be like, that's the decision that's been made.
Well, yeah.
But you know, and you got to remember too, like you got to kind of, if you're playing, you have to weigh your options here. Like, don't just assume like using a super drop to get rid of a counter pick is always going to be the best option. If you're still going to lose points,
it's not always going to be the best option, right? Because
you should also look at the rest of your list and how much time you have throughout the rest of the year, and think about what other opportunities are you losing out on by using your super drop now, that kind of thing.
Well, you definitely no one needs to be using them now. Like, we have so much time. You don't need to drop a counter pick. You don't need to drop anything right now.
July 1st is the cutoff.
And everyone has time, and everyone has more games that are going to be announced.
Yeah, July 1st is the cutoff. July 1st is the cutoff. So,
can we briefly mention the pickups, at least in our league?
Yeah, I mean, they're all Chris Davis's. I don't. Chris Davis is playing
the draft.
Chris Davis is like going on a bidding spree. He's just trying to get it over. He's ripping the Band-Aid off.
I just want to get it done. I don't want to worry about this for the next 11 months.
First of all, Chris Davis, be a little honest, all right? We're all trying to win here. This is not
serious.
something you want to get done. What are you talking about? A full roster in January? What does that mean? You can start focusing on your taxes? What are you talking about? Get it?
No, like I clear out most of my inventory early in the year. So I have when people are spending less money, and then I can use my cash to go for 2 big games.
Okay.
That's not that's not a terrible strategy.
I mean, that kind of only works if you're not spending a bunch of money, and you spend a bunch of money on these games.
You did spend. How much money did you spend on which one? Was it Indiana Jones?
No, sorry. No,
I don't
it
remember which
was...
games we're talking about here.
No,
'cause
I haven't.
don't
I'm
remember
looking
It
at
was
it.
Metal
He got
Gear. I'm
Brothers.
sorry, it was Metal Gear.
He got Brothers, A Tale
Metal
of Two
Gear.
Sons. He got Metal Gear.
You spent $22 on Metal Gear Solid Delta, which is the game that I'm going to be shocked if it even comes out this year.
Well, here's the thing. I have strong Dead Space remake vibes from this.
You might be right. You might be right, but who
it.
knows if it's even coming out this year?
Well,
Also,
if it doesn't,
Konami. Who trusts Konami?
they're not to be trusted. But you gotta have a little faith, man.
All right.
A little faith is not
we
spending
don't need the pick
$22.
shame. He also got Indiana Jones, which
We're going to talk about.
I think it's a little crazy having not seen a single frame of that game to be adding it to your roster, but he did.
I'll tell you why I chose it. I chose it not because of Indiana Jones, because it's Machine Games.
Yeah, I know.
They created one of what I believe personally to be one of the best narratives of the last generation.
Narratives, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which are you talking about? Just their Wolfenstein series in general, or one of those games in particular?
Wolfenstein: The New Order specifically.
Okay.
The New Order, not New Colossus.
New Colossus is great, but it's a little bit more pulpy than what I want, and I didn't get to fight Mecha Hitler, so not quite as good as it could be.
The straw that broke the camel's back for Chris Davis was not being able to fight Mecha Hitler.
It's true. I mean, look at my wall over there. What is that on the wall? It's Mecha Hitler.
That's true.
You're about to gun him the fuck down.
True. Tell us about the final boss of Quake.
I fucking knew he was gonna bring that up. Oh my god,
it's so funny. It's so funny.
I'm good. I don't need to do that. I'll watch the Noah Caldwell Gervais film video that came out very recently.
I didn't watch that one.
Okay.
Carlos sent me the link and he's like, "What are you doing?"
Or the title of the video is "Playing the Quake games for the narrative." Yeah. So I'm like, okay, sure, yeah, that's perfect. I don't need to play this horse shit. I can move on with my life.
Fair enough. All right, we need to get into this.
Sorry, there's one more. It's Thursday. It's Thursday night. Someone bid on a game in our league.
Oh shit.
Well, I guess it's not Nick, and I hope it's not Chris Davis.
Well, what is it?
It's Pacific Drive. Someone bid on Pacific Drive, which looks cool.
You know what? That seems like maybe either a Nolan or maybe a Carlos pick.
Carlos Ed. It could be anyone. I mean, fuck. I don't know. There was some previews out that seemed pretty positive.
That's the one where you're driving the station wagon, right?
Yeah.
It's like Stalker if you had a car.
Yeah.
But with Firewatch narrative.
But there's crazy weather effects.
Chris Davis knows a lot about it. You didn't bid on this one, right?
No, I didn't bid on that.
But see, okay. All I'm saying is, if you shoot your shots too early, then you're just,
Here's the thing. I learned a lot.
We could have learned about a new game today that looked incredible. Unfortunately, we didn't, but we could have.
I learned a lot last year from playing, so I'm taking a decidedly different, slower paced approach. I felt, last year I got really excited, and I right out of the gate I was like, I want to bid on something because I'm excited to bid on something, and I've bid on Forspoken.
Burning a hole in our pockets.
To me, I'm trying to play it. I'm slow and steady wins the race. That's what I'm doing. I'm gonna try and be smart about it. But anyways, let's get to it, guys. We got a couple games to talk about, and then of course we're gonna dig into everything they showed at the Microsoft Developer Direct. But Brad, you have two games, real quick, and I don't know. Did you bring footage of this game, Chris Davis?
Both of them.
Well, no. Before we get to you, Brad, he had a game that he wanted to talk about briefly, and I really just want to get his temperature on it before we turn it over to Brad.
So technically, I didn't capture footage. I used some footage we captured for Game of the Year. I'm going to replace it with my own. Okay. But the game in question is a Game of the Year list contender. It's a Trepang 2.
Trepang 2, which I played last year. And this is one of those games that I was kind of shocked when I found out that Chris Davis. I was like, I know he's eventually going to play it because obviously. This is my footage.
A big Fear fan? This is the Fear knockoff, right?
Yeah. This is. I can't believe it's not Fear.
I can't believe it's not Fear. It's actually a really good way to describe it. You know what's funny? Other than that, while I have this kind of in my head, because right now I'm watching. I started watching Fringe, right? Which is It's I can't believe it's not X-Files, but it's X-Files is supernatural shit, and Fringe is X-Files, but if it was all explainable through like weird science.
And it had like a bigger budget. Yeah.
And that's what this feels like. This feels like Fear, but it's like not really supernatural. It's all like weird military science shit that kind of explains the like what in Fear would be like weird supernatural shit. You know what I mean? But anyways, how's Trepang 2 going for you?
So I wouldn't describe the game like that. This game feels like to me a studio got together and everyone had a great idea for a level, but they had no idea what the fuck to make out of like a narrative design. So it's like, go ahead, make the levels. Yeah, just do that. We'll figure something out in like the last year of development. And
they're not strung together in any like, and that's like one, you know, because like Fear was always like one kind of cohesive, maybe not one cohesive, but like, you know, it felt like there was a visible, tangible connection between the areas in Fear, at least what I remember of Fear. This is more like when you pick a mission, you're picking it off of like a world map, right? And it's like, okay, in this mission I'm going to Russia, in this mission I'm going to like somewhere in like, you know, the Pacific Northwest, the United States or whatever. And there's no like real, I mean, they try to kind of explain that stuff, but you know, it feels a little bit disjointed. But that's not what people come to this for, right? People are coming to this because like people are tired of waiting for a new Fear game, and this is like here to kind of like scratch that itch, right?
And I mean, we're 90% certain we're probably never going to get another Fear game because Monolith, they've moved on. Never. Hey, they've moved on. Their owners, which are WB, they're just giving you nothing but fucking DC projects to work on. So we'll never get another Fear again, except maybe like a remaster, maybe one day, hopefully.
Here's the thing: never say never with these things, but like, if you want to state concretely, it will never get another Fear from Monolith. Yes, but I could see them resurrecting this game sometime within the next decade and just giving it to some random studio.
Yes, right. I mean, Monolith is working on Wonder Woman, right? You know.
Oh, I keep forgetting that.
Yeah,
that's coming out in a post Suicide Squad disaster world, which we know that's coming. By the way, holy shit, dude! It's gonna be a train wreck. It's gonna be a bloodbath. I've never seen previews so openly negative.
Yeah,
because the previews from like major outlets especially are usually trend like we're going to give it the benefit of the doubt, but all bets are off with this. And like you have IGN like just straight up saying, dude, this shit sucks ass. You know, and I saw like an era thread of like, hey, everyone can talk about, you know, playing in the private beta or whatever. What is everyone's thoughts? And everyone was like, holy shit, y'all.
Everyone's like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure?
Yeah. And it's so sad, right? Because it's Rocksteady's been working on it for so long, and you know, we know they're talented, but
sorry, I don't mean to like move away from Trepang too quickly, but you bring up a good point.
We were talking about Trepang.
But here's the thing. Here's a serious question I have for you. I know it sucks, right? Because nobody here wants to watch Rocksteady fail. Nobody wants to see the first post Arkham Rocksteady game fail. But if that's kind of what needs to happen to like, is it good for the industry? I feel like it might be good for the industry.
Yes,
dude, and we didn't talk about it, but let's say with a certain leak, I was surprised by how much of that stuff in the future is games as a servicey from that one company that we're not going to speak about on the podcast.
Yeah,
that got hacked.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We're just entering. Like the next several years is going to be a period of like games as a service reckoning coming from the audience. Like
it's been happening. It's been happening. Yeah, it's why Dragon Age.
I'm just saying, right? It's like coming to a culmination point.
Yeah, I think we're reaching
this is going to be this is a big thing, right? Avengers is already a game you can't play anymore, right? But you know, a lot of these projects were too far along to like kind of reverse course. EA did it with Dragon Age, right? But not everyone was going to do it. And Rocksteady, you know, WB was like, hey, let's keep going. But if this one comes out and really is a tragedy, I think everyone's really going to seriously take that step back. All these companies are just going to be going abort.
Also, I didn't realize in a row. Too many. I didn't realize Septon Hill left Rocksteady already.
Oh yeah,
I thought he
a while ago.
Okay,
yeah. I had forgotten about that. But he opened him and his business partner opened a new studio this week, and the first thing they're touting is like ex-Rocksteady Arkham Asylum developers have started a new studio, and it's like
I hope they make a game
ahead of the
X. You can be a firefighter.
but like getting ahead of the like
with the taste.
Of the from the team that made Suicide Squad, right? They're like, we're gonna announce our new studio now because in a couple months it's gonna be the owners of the studio that made Suicide Squad have opened a new studio, right? And that's not the association. I don't think they want to.
Yeah,
come out of the
Urban
gate
Chaos Riot Response. We all love it.
We all love it. Anyways, sorry,
success to it.
Chris Deos. I know that was a huge tangent. Trepang 2. What's going on?
That's all right. This is we've said a lot about it already. It's I can't believe this is not Fear.
With feels good.
Great shooting, great shooting. I will say the only complaint I would have about the shooting is that the variety of enemies feels a bit lacking.
Yeah.
And that was a symptom of the original Fear as well.
Well, yeah, but that didn't matter in Fear because those combat encounters were so fucking engaging because the AI was smart and aggressive.
Yes.
And
it is smart and aggressive in this.
They're pretty good. It's one of those things where it's like if you pit them against each other, you could probably still find examples that would make you lean towards Fear as still being the superior AI, right? But it's a very good imitation of Fear. Also, it's the entire time I was playing this, I was like, this is cool and all, but like, there's no Alma, man, and that is such it feels like something's missing.
That is the big thing, is that Alma was so central to Fear 1 and the Fear franchise overall, of like this tragic character that haunts you throughout the entire game. But
it introduces like a level of like uncertainty and just dynamic
big mystery.
And,
yeah. But like in
not
this,
sexually assaults you.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Did that happen?
That was in Fear 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I forgot.
Like Fear 3 is all about her being pregnant and having contractions, which are altering reality.
I forgot.
I mean, you got her pregnant. It's your fault.
Yeah.
I mean, it's her fault.
But like in this, they don't have like a central like antagonistic horror element to it.
There is a element.
Select levels do have this horror element specific to that level. Right. And honestly, when you first encounter them, like you're like, okay, I did not expect this. This is more Fear like than was advertised. And as you go on into more of the core levels, because there are branching levels,
right.
You get more of that content, and it gets, in my opinion, more and more interesting.
I mean, it's interesting, but it's not. Carlos is in chat right now and says Trepang 2 is like someone watched Fear and made their take on it without ever actually playing it, and I don't think that's true, because I do feel like game feel, like mechanics, like shooting in this game feels very, very Fear. May not be quite as tight, but it comes awfully close, especially for an imitation. But it's the bigger, kind of grander stuff that gave Fear its personality that's not quite there. But at the end of the day, I don't think that matters much, because
let me ask you this real quick.
Anything else.
In Trepang 2, you run into a room and you're like, oh shit, there's dudes in there, and they're like, oh shit, you say oh shit, they say oh shit, and you back off because in Fear you get killed real quick. And then you reload and you heal up and you run back in that room and they're gone. Does that ever happen in Trepang 2?
I think we had this conversation on a podcast when I talked about it, and I couldn't really answer that question, and which makes me think no, that does not happen.
I don't think
that's
so.
Like another hallmark of Fear AI,
Which is again why I say it's a good imitation, but it is not the exact same. And there are little nuances that made Fear that are missing here, or are not quite attuned to that level.
Do they traverse the environment, or use the environment and
they'll flank you and shit? Yeah.
Yeah. They're cognizant of your flashlight or a laser on your weapon, so they know where you are because of those things. And they called out to each other about those things, and they'll flank you and try to get you with a grenade if you're trying to hide somewhere. Yet, you can't really camp in this game unless you're on a lower difficulty level, which I was not. So, This is a game where you absolutely have to be aggressive, and I feel like so this is one of those games where the empowerment fantasy is really big here, because of the gratuity, the violence, and how effective your weapons are. Like, it strongly encourages you to be aggressive all the time. Not Doom levels of aggressive, but you know what I mean. So you're at least when I was playing, I was constantly just charging at the enemy, only going out of sight if I needed to reload a weapon. Because, I mean, in addition to the slow-mo, you've also got a cloaking ability that you can do. So you've got a lot of flexibility as to the spaces of the encounters to just take out all the enemies really quickly if you want to.
Yeah.
They also pace out the weapons, the progression there pretty well, I think. There were moments that just had me cackling, laughing from what the game was telling you to do. Like, at one point in the game, you get this item that now allows you to dual wield. Like, why I couldn't dual wield up until now, I have no idea. But now I can dual wield shotguns. And that shit, when I have incendiary rounds inside, that is hilarious.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Just so fucking good.
You know, and just real quick, you had mentioned something about being like super aggressive and fast paced with the combat and stuff. I do think that's one element that like makes this game ultimately end up feeling different than Fear, and maybe not in a great way, is because so much of my time in Fear was spent like kind of inching forward and not knowing when I was safe or when enemies were going to appear. And I feel like by having the enemies being so aggressive, always coming at you and just being like constantly boom, 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 you lose that element.
Yeah. Well, I think a large part of that stems from like the limited variety of enemies. Like, there's really only like 3 enemy types in this particular level. You got the standard gunners, you got the suiciders, and you've got a couple of armored dudes occasionally. But like they're not coming to you in combinations that really feel like effective to counter your combat approach.
You know, I think all that really needs to be said about this game is that like they wanted to capture that like really cool slow-mo like John Woo style action in a way that hasn't been done still to this day since the original Fear, and kind of everything else be damned.
I mean, that's mostly true. I will say there are some pretty good spook moments in this game.
No.
That I really like.
Don't get me wrong. It has moments. I'm just saying, like, they had a very clear mission here, and that was they wanted to capture the moment-to-moment feel of combat and Fear, and everything around it is just kind of window dressing. And you may like it, you may not. It may work for you, it may not. I don't know. But when you look at it from the mission's perspective, which was to recreate the feel of playing Fear, I think it's a pretty admirable attempt. You know, it just does make me wish that Fear would come back. Like, at the end of the day, God, I wish we got a good. I wish we get a new Fear.
Monolith anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's. But like, here's the question: would you want to see somebody else take a stab at it, or is because depending on who you ask, we've only had one good Fear game, right? Or do people hold 2 in high regard as well?
Fear 2's okay. Fear 2's
we have 1.5 good Fear games. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah. So, you know, I don't
know.
Like, it means it's 50-50 shot then.
I mean, I would honestly, if they could, I would give this IP to the Trip Studios development team.
I don't think the IP matters that much, honestly. I think games like this are fine. Look,
well, no. So here's the thing: is that there's a level in this game where you go to Siberia, basically, and the first like 2/3 of that level is basically you just exploring this horror environment. And it starts to get into non-Euclidean architecture. It starts to get into, you know those that back room kind of game meme thing that's been going around.
Back rooms, yeah.
Yeah, the back rooms. Yeah. They have kind of their own take on that in this, and it's granted it is not procedurally generated, but it kind of feels like it, and it's a little linear, but they convey the emotion of the scene pretty well. And there was honestly some moments in the game that legitimately make me jump. And I am iron-willed when it comes to horror games. Like you might startle me a little bit. You're not going to make me jump out of my seat. I had a couple moments of that with this game.
Okay.
Coolio.
I suppose. All right, we can move on. I just,
Yeah.
I'm not even opposed to, like you say, giving fear to the Trepang studio necessarily. But, they succeeded here, I think, more in terms of just like capturing the feel of combat. And I think that is the important thing, but I'm not entirely sold on like everything else around it. But all that could just be because of the limitations of not being able to actually work within the Fear IP.
But I mean, like, there's only one other studio I think I would trust with the Fear IP, and that would be Machine Games.
I knew you were going to say Machine Games.
No, Machine Games can bring you great combat. They can bring you great story, and I am convinced if they wanted to, they could create a really good horror experience.
Okay, I'm not opposed. You know what? Ask me again after we play this.
Killing Nazis or punching Nazis.
You got a problem with killing Nazis, Brad? Jesus.
Ask me again how I feel after we play this Indiana Jones game. All right, let's move on. Brad, because I do want to talk about the Microsoft thing in the second half. So let's shift over to Brad. You have two games to
let's
talk
do
about.
Cobalt Core first. It won't be too long on this one. This is a game I've been playing in recent weeks. It's one I wanted to make sure I squeezed in before the end of the year last year, because it's definitely something that seems up my alley. Y'all know I love FTL. Y'all know I love,
Is this Slay the Spire FTL edition?
Well, if by Slay the Spire you mean it is a deck builder game, where you see the intentions of the enemy attacks during your turn, the enemy's next turn attack during your turn, then it is like Slay the Spire, if that is your touchstone for deck builders. It is a game with cards in it. Well, I'm also talking to people who don't play Slay the Spire, so it's like, sure,
which is also me.
Call it that. And Chris Davis. The thing is, the FTL thing is obvious, right? Because it is a space game where you're it's one spaceship versus another. But FTL is like a real time strategy thing, right? This is like strictly turn based, and you could see what the enemy's about to do. If anything, it's a little more like Into the Breach, right? But it is a deck builder. You are drawing cards, you're building decks, you're removing cards, you're upgrading cards, you're trying to come up with strategies that synergize with the characters that you have piloting your ship and the ship that you have selected. When you start a run, you pick 3 different characters. Well, you start with just 3 different characters. And as you play more beat runs, you unlock more characters, and every character has like their own cards. So because they're like, they specialize in certain things, kind of like the characters you see on screen, like the top guy, he specializes in shielding, while the guy in orange rigs is she specializes in ship movement, because like the big thing about this game is you're kind of like maneuvering back and forth trying to kind of dodge enemy fire, because the enemy has cannons and missiles and stuff, and it kind of in columns will the following turn, or at the end of your turn, will attack those parts of your ship, and those parts of your ships do different things, right? Especially when you kind of get into the different ships. And so kind of having that evasion to like move around, to move out of enemy fire, or further in the game, you start getting parts of your ship that are weaker than others, and like moving the weaker part out of enemy fire, the weaker, more part that can take more damage out of the line of enemy fire. Like, movement is a huge thing, so you having a character that kind of specializes in movement is like a really appealing character to have on board your ship. And then I have another character who's just, I don't know, he different kinds of attacks or whatever. But every Nick's gone. But every pilot is a little bit different, and you're drawing from the pool of like their cards. Let me know if we need to pause.
He's back,
Nicholas. So it actually reminds me a little of that SteamWorld game. SteamWorld deck builder where you have 3 different characters in like an RPG party. Um, but yeah, it's like
What
that.
was that?
And depending on what characters you add to your ship, like the strategy could be very different. Also, like the ships are very different, right? Like the base ship is kind of like a basic ship, but like the next ship you unlock is like a smaller ship, but they draw less cards per turn. And drawing less cards per turn in a deck builder is like tragically bad. But since maneuvering and dodging enemy fire is such an important part of this game, the fact that like the ship itself is smaller means you have less opportunities to actually be hit by multiple like enemy cannons per turn is actually like a pretty huge thing. And there's other like little mechanics in there that make it a lot more complex. And some of the characters I've unlocked since then, which again determine the kind of cards you draw, like specialize in different things. Like I unlocked a character that specializes in sending out drones, and those drones do things at the end of your turn. It's just like a really well made like one of these, and like I'm constantly surprised by like some of the new ideas, the new ship types, the new battle types. Um, like they managed to keep the variety coming in a game where I didn't think that was possible when it was always going to be like one ship versus one ship. It's cool. It's cool. Like this, I've unlocked this ship and it was really hard for me to use at first, but because every turn, like it has no cannons, it can only send out drones, and those drones will basically mimic the attacks of whatever attack card you play. So it's like really awkward because it's very easy for them to get shot down because you're often using them to like kind of block enemy attacks. But if you actually can like properly get them set up and have like 3 or 4 drones out, like a single attack, like powerful attack card can like end the entire fight in one click. It's pretty cool. The only downside is that like there's no like confirm for like a lot of the actions for like any of the actions you do. So like if you do an evade and you actually do it in the wrong direction or you click the wrong card, it could be like catastrophic and run in game
Oh.
in a single bad click. And I've had that happen to me before, and I kind of wish there were a little more like lenient, or if there was like a rewind option. Some games like this, like Into the Breach,
Mm.
once per battle has like a rewind, or like a reset turn. Like I really wish this game had something like that, but there isn't. So it's like kind of weirdly punishing them that way. The last thing I want to say about it is just like the aesthetic and like kind of the setup and the premise. It's these characters who are like kind of stuck in a time loop, and they know they're stuck in a time loop, and you start meeting characters in your various runs who also like you have like sort of continuing conversations with them, almost like Hades like, if you will,
Mhm.
as you encounter them throughout the runs. And that's like it's actually surprisingly well written and funny, and it seems like a game like honestly kind of surprising that part is I thought this game was only going to be appealing to me on a mechanical level, but it's actually ap- appealing to me on like sort of just a character. Like the characters are adorable,
It was a
it's well
dinosaur.
written. Like the drone character will name the drones, like random names when he plays them in battle. It's just it's kind of cute, honestly, but it's still like a really hard, you know. Well, that said, I actually did win my first run. It's actually, there's a lot of difficulty options. I've bumped it up to hard, and the way they scale up the difficulty is actually pretty interesting. So I don't play on normal, but the difficulty I'm playing on now and some of like the combinations I'm using have made the game really hard now. But I guess early on it was pretty easy. So like I think it's a pretty accessible. It's easy to understand, even if you don't play a lot of like deck builders, or even if you've never played FTL. I think the appeal of this game is like pretty immediate, and it's very pick up and play friendly, and it has like a nice aesthetic. The music is really good, so I kind of recommend Cobalt Core to anyone, honestly. Great Steam Deck game, of
I like
course.
watching your.
Jesus.
I'm mesmerized watching the footage of your mouse movements. It's almost like I can see your thought process. Just like
Yeah.
You can
freaking
see
like
the
circling a
gears
car,
turning.
like viciously circling the car. Like, oh, he's thinking about this one. He's thinking about this one.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm always a little weird using mouse when I capture footage, but whatever. I was just kind of in a hurry. Yeah, so it's a cool game, but not as cool as the other game I've been playing, which is one that I've
oh
been looking
shit!
forward to for a long time.
And this is a
Um,
2024 game, right? This just
It's
came
a
out.
2024 game, just came out this week,
Okay.
actually. And when I was very excited about it, I know everyone has got their games that they're excited about, and I know this isn't on everybody's radar, and it's probably not even going to get enough reviews on OpenCritic, which is why I would never draft something like this, even though it's one of my most anticipated games of the year. And that's the new game from Rad Codex. You might know them from podcast conversations as the developer of Horizon's Gate and other tactical
Oh, these
RPG
guys. Okay. Yeah.
other tactical RPG games that so this is like the fourth game that they've made that has like the same, like at its core, this Final Fantasy Tactics style of inspired like class-based system. Like this is a strategy RPG, right? Like, you know, you get into battles, there are squares, you know, a grid, you move your characters around in a turn-based manner, you go
Mhm.
up and you hit a guy, you knock him back, whatever. It's one of those, right?
Right.
But and every one of these games have had those core systems at their base, but they're always doing something new with the classes. Um, the other thing that is kind of like a staple for all of these Rad Codex games, it's not just this turn based combat system. It's just how reactive everything is in but in the environment, in like the elements. Like this is the Breath of the Wild of strategy RPGs, right?
Whoa.
Or you could
Those are
say like
big
Divinity.
words.
I think when I was talking a lot about Horizon's Gate, it was Divinity Original Sin, right? Which again, not everyone played, but now that y'all played Baldur's Gate 3, right? Y'all not you or a lot more Baldur's Gate 3 than probably any Divinity Original Sin game. You know how everything is very like, oh, I can set this water, turn it into ice, and now they're slipping on the ice, or I can
A base
they're
understanding of the elements and physics and stuff
and
can
just
help go
kind
a
of
long
how
way in a game like this.
yeah, kind of how everything interacts and how you always have a lot of options and a lot of ways to approach it. And it's not just kind of running up to a dude and hitting him, right? There's a lot of things to think about. And like this game, more than any of their other games, is so much about like moving the enemy, like the way things are interacting. You know, I have a thing that it's like triggering off of like the pools of blood that pool up on the battlefield is making my blood spells do more damage, and those also are like conducive to like electricity, and like electricity will spread throughout the battlefield. It's everything is so interactive and so reactive, and it's just a really good tactical combat game, and it's a low damage one, right? Like you start out doing like 2 damage with all your weapons, right? So when you're getting something that adds like a sword that does 1 more damage, now you're doing 3 damage, it's like it feels significant, right? So every little progression that you do feels, it because it's playing in numbers that make sense and that are very easy to scale, right? As opposed to like a lot of RPGs where the numbers don't even really matter, they're just there to look cool, right? Here I like this. I like, like Dragon Quest or whatever, right? Like you're dealing in very low numbers, and I like that. But so the thing that's different about this one, right? Because again, the core of those has always been in all of their games. And Horizon's Gate was a very different game, right? That was the one that was like kind of like Black Flag, right? Where you
Right.
have a pirate ship and you're getting in pirate battles and you're sailing all over
Yeah.
this world and exploring and trading with different towns. Like this one isn't like that. This one, you have a small party of adventurers, you have a mount, you can actually ride your mount around the world, and you're exploring a very like tightly crafted world. It's actually like kind of like a ruined, I'm going to end up at a ruined castle, exploring that castle, which is like big Castlevania energy. And I feel like kind of the tone and the atmosphere feels very, dark, almost gothic, but really it's all about the world design. It's this very tightly crafted world with all kinds of like crazy secrets and things. Like one of the awesome thing about these games is just sort of figuring out how everything like interacts, right? Like you find a piece of cloth and then you get some shears and you're like, wait, so and then if you take the shears and use them on a piece of cloth, it becomes a bandage, and a bandage is an item that you can use to like heal in battle. Or if you
That's
see like
cool.
a tankard of like a like you'll come up on a room and it's all just sort of like set up in the environment of like some liquid spilled out of like a keg or something, and there's like some empty you know mugs around it, right? And if you're have the foresight to like, or the just the thought to kind of like pick up one of those mugs and then click on like the barrel, it fills it up and all of it, and it becomes something you could throw in your inventory to drink to restore like MP in like a battle. Like everything
So
is
it takes
like
like all those items that in like a lot of RPGs that you would find scattered about that have no value or no intrinsic like use to them other than maybe resale value, and like
so
if you can dream it up, you can think of like
exactly.
useful
And
ways to make use of them.
Ex- exactly. And when you combine the fact that everything interacts and everything has a use, and it's all about kind of discovering how those things interact, and then you think about the interactivity of things like elements and stuff, it's not just Breath of the Wild, right? This is basically a Final Fantasy Tactics immersive sim. Like the way you explore the world in both in and out of combat is very immersive sim like. It's like you're
Huh.
playing, which is honestly kind of like the same strengths of something like a Larian game, like a Baldur's Gate 3, is just how immersive simmy it is compared to most RPGs. It's like, well, I could set this door on fire, I could knock it down and just like break the door. There's like so many like approaches you have, and this game is very similar to that. Obviously, it doesn't look like your
No.
traditional immersive sim, but the immersive sims don't look like Deus Ex anymore or Thief anymore. They look like Breath of the Wild. They look like Baldur's Gate, and god damn it, they look like this. And they are really, really, really good at that shit. And it's a game where like not it almost feels like a Metroidvania with the way how tightly crafted it is, with the way the secrets are. There's puzzles everywhere, but the way you interact with those puzzles are not just and progress and like a world progression, like how do I get over there, is more, it's knowledge based. It's like, how do I interact, or because you can, there's like a Metroid Prime style, you can like click on everything and there's like a codex entry for everything that explains what it is, that, oh, you can maybe do this with that. And figuring out those things, like all of a sudden your whole world comes up, opens up, and it's like, wait a minute, that I have like it's not a thief type class, but I have a class that can like throw a chain and like pull it towards me, right? And which is cool in battle, right? Because I with my magic user, I created like some stalagmites, some spikes, right? That'll do damage. And now with my thief, quote unquote thief, they're not called thieves. I use my chain and pull them towards the spikes, right? Which is a cool, smart battle thing, right?
Sounds
But
like
when you
Scorpion.
yeah, sure, right? But when you realize you can use all of these abilities that you unlock, like Final Fantasy Tactics style, to like interact with things in the world, you realize that the whole world and exploring the world is a puzzle, right? Because I'm like, how do I get up that ledge? There's like a boulder in the way. I can't push it anymore. But wait, I have this chain ability. I can like pull the boulder out of the way. And I literally can only do that because I got that class, because I bought that ability, with my experience. Now I can interact in the world outside of battle in like cool ways. And now I'm solving puzzles like in the world with
The
these abilities.
circumstances of your playthrough because of a decision you made makes this playthrough different than someone else's,
Yeah,
perhaps, or gives you
exactly.
different
Because the
solutions.
way I'm, because the how I'm choosing to do the progression of my characters is affecting how I explore the world, and it's those discoveries that are so fucking great. I can't tell you, like I am thinking about this game constantly. I am not going anywhere. I went to get a fucking oil change today, and I took my Steam Deck with me. I went to one of those places where you don't get out of the car just so I can play Kingsvein. I am absorbed by this game, and God, it sucks because it is a game that like immediately is not. It's not obvious that this game is this deep, right? By looking at it, it just looks like a strategy RPG with kind of bad graphics, right? Or at the very least, like graphics that are a little hard to
Distinct
parse.
graphics. This
Distinct
studio
graphics.
clearly has a style.
Yeah, it,
Um,
it has it has a style. This is a one man game, right? It has a style, and I don't think that it's bad. I think that it's hard to parse. And I've played, honestly, I mean, I play all of the games in their catalog now, um, and I'm sort of used to it. But even turning this on for the first time, I was immediately like, oh yeah, I got to get used to this again. To just try to figure it out. Like when you're creating your characters, and they don't care that, like like when you create three party members, and they're all like basically very like gray rock people, of various versions of gray. It's like they don't care that you're not going to make a pretty elf. Like this is not a game about beautiful graphics, but the more you play it, the more you realize that, like, oh, there's actually a lot of little subtle details in the pixel art that are kind of smart. I don't know. I don't know. It grows on you, or I think it's more like your eyes kind of adjust to it, and you stop seeing like the visual flaws, and you just start seeing the matrix code. And man,
I
this
mean,
game,
it seems pretty clear. Like you said, it's one person with it's a one man development team, right? Is it? I mean, or at least a very small team.
That's
I would
actually not
imagine.
true. That's actually not true. I'm pretty sure that's not true. I mean, I've been in these people's Discord since Horizon's Gate, so
Gotcha.
I kind of see that the people who seemingly are working on the game. I mean, these games, yeah, it's hard to tell because they get a ton of like mod support as well because they're pretty open to that sort of thing. And I see a lot of people in there that work on the game, but not necessarily directly. I don't know. It's confusing. I don't think it's a one man project necessarily, but it might be
Right.
with contributors.
I mean, I was
I don't
just
know. It's
gonna
super
say
cool. The
like
music's fucking good. It's like super like I get the music in this game is very like Super Nintendo RPG and shit's good. A lot of the battle tracks just fucking slap hard. I don't know. I like it. I like this game a lot. But I knew I would like it. Again, it's the whole like Junji Ito thing, right? This whole is made for me. It's my whole, you know,
you
and I'm
posted
going
that
into the
Discord. I was
Kingsvein
like, that
hole.
is fucking
Yeah.
funny.
And I'm
Yeah.
gonna come out the other side of the mountain an even more like horrifying nerd, right? I get it. And I feel bad, right? Because I have a lot of enthusiasm for the game, but I don't necessarily think it's for everyone. But at the same time, so like I get a little like uneasy when I'm very enthusiastic about a game because I don't want people to just go out and just start fucking, oh, I'll buy it. Brad's into it, I'll buy it. Because this is something that is very specifically like for me. And I know there's a lot of people like me, and there is a lot to like here. For people who do like a lot of the kinds of games I mentioned, right? But you know, obviously Breath of the Wild and like a Baldur's Gate 3 is like immediately more accessible and mainstream appeal and beautiful, right? And this isn't that, but like let me tell you, man, this scratches so many like good itches of what I look for in video games in terms of like progression
If
and
you find yourself
exploration and
itching like
tactics.
Brad
Like,
does,
yeah, man.
then it's
I
for
don't know.
you.
I never know. I never know. Sometimes I recommend a game like this and people like really click with it and they're like, oh yeah, I get it. This shit is brilliant. More people should try it. And sometimes it
I
doesn't
mean,
happen.
you've
Like
done
a
due
couple years
diligence.
ago.
You've given the asterisk, right? People listening to this know you've
Yeah, it's
they
true.
know not to just assume that it's for them, but
Yeah, it's
if
a
they
toss up
know,
sometimes. Like I remember I was really enthusiastic about like Crosscode, right? But you know, most everyone I've seen try Crosscode who actually really spend a lot of time with it are like, yeah, this shit's brilliant, right? But then there's like Crystal Project from a couple years ago. I fucking adore that game. I could not get people to buy that
we
game,
got a
and
handful in our community that played it.
even the handful that did were like kind of started and were like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. But they also were like they never seemed like they went quite as like deep as I did. And I'm like, oh, you got to keep going. This shit, there's rabbit holes here, and this is a game of rabbit holes. Like when you some of the things like when you find out you could just drop an item on an anvil and then these little things that you picked up like elemental stones, like, oh, I can just slot them in there and just take them out whenever I want. It just opens up this whole world of like possibilities of like now there's so many more build options in my head, it doesn't just affect the build of this one character. It affects the whole makeup of my party, and now I'm completely rethinking how my entire party is set up just because I learned one more thing about the world or the way items interact. Is so cool. It's so fucking cool. I gotta stop talking. I love Kingsvein. I'm gonna be loving it and playing it all year long, and it's gonna be the kind of thing where you know everyone's gonna move on with their lives. That new Yakuza
Have you
game's coming
streamed any of
out.
this yet?
Well, I mean, I played like fucking 45 minutes of it last night or the on Tuesday, but that was like literally the day it came out. I mean, I just really haven't played much of it at all. Um, but I'll play a lot more. You
Okay,
know, I'll let y'all
here
know
we
about
go.
it in
You heard
Discord
it
or
here
wherever.
first. Brad's first potential game of the year contender for
Yeah, like
2024.
absolutely, right? Absolutely. I mean, Horizon's Gate was my number 2 that year, and I believe that was the year where I think Hades was my number 1, right? Like so it was a tough year.
Dang,
Like it was not going to, you know, like it was close. It was close,
super
honestly.
close.
So yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
well
Kingsman,
that's cool
it's
though.
rad. It's rad. Rad Codex,
Kingsvein,
by the way,
it's
is the name
rad.
of the
That's a
developer.
box quote if I've ever heard one.
And I still recommend Horizon's Gate. Horizon's Gate's really cool. It's just less exploration and combat focused. It's
Yeah.
more pirate simmy.
Okay, why don't we take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll have a conversation about the Microsoft Direct, because that plenty to talk about there between the new Indiana Jones and Hellblade II, Avowed, even a surprise peek at Visions of Mana, the
Yeah.
new
Oh, yeah.
Mana game, which I'm gonna be
And
honest, I was watching this at work, so I was kind of like I was trying to like work while also paying attention, and considering it was all in Japanese, I wasn't able to like read all the subtitles, so I don't really know what was said about Visions of Mana. But it looks cool. So we'll talk about all that stuff when we come back on the other side. So if you're watching us live or listening at home, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hello. Welcome back to the show. As I mentioned in the first segment, we're going to talk a bit about all the stuff that they talked about during today's Microsoft Developer Direct. Before we do that, real quick, I didn't bring any footage, so I don't really want to talk about these games, but I just wanted to quickly mention a couple things. One, I did play all the way through Chants of Sennaar, which I think you may see show up on at least one person's top 10 list this year. So maybe I'll just kind of leave it to that. But that's a cool fucking puzzle game. I'll just say that. If you at all were like into Return of the Obra Dinn, kind of like the deducing, like figuring stuff out by deducing stuff. In this case, you're trying to discern languages by using context clues and trying to figure out glyphs and what they mean, and not just what they mean, but like how you string them together to form sentences, because like syntax is just different from there's like five or six languages you're kind of translating in that game between different like groups, and you use what you learn in one to kind of deduce the glyphs in another and stuff. It's really cool.
If you like that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were kind of blown away by Obra Dinn, like people who weren't expecting to be blown away by it, and I think this is kind of the same thing.
I'm saying now that you like Obra Dinn in this game, you should go back and play Golden Idol, Case of the Golden Idol.
Yeah, no, that's actually on my wish list
game as well.
Definitely, it's on my wish list. I want to go back to that for sure. And the other thing I want to mention, and this is real quick mention, I am not very far in this game, but I have never played it. I started Celeste finally.
That game is wonderful. Yeah,
that game is very good. I just kind of like the vibe.
In ways you probably don't even know yet. Like that game is like that game is good in lots of ways. Yeah,
I feel like I don't even know Madeline yet, and I care about her a lot as a character. And then on top of that, like the strawberries. So like very early on, it's like, just so you know, the strawberries don't mean shit. They're just bragging rights, right? And even knowing that, I'm just like, I'm not stopping until I get the goddamn strawberry. I spent almost my entire lunch break yesterday trying to get one strawberry, and I got it, and I don't regret a single fucking moment of it. It was so fun. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that I'm playing Celeste. That's kind of like my Steam Deck game I'm rolling with right now. So, anyways, without further ado, let's get to it. Today, Microsoft held their first. I don't know how many of these they're planning on doing or what, but their first developer direct for the year, which was focused on. It was advertised as focusing on 4 games, but like I mentioned earlier, there was a kind of a surprise 5th game thrown in there. And actually, the way they had arranged, like when the video started, they had them arranged in like 2 games on top, 2 games on bottom, but they were kind of like catty corner right, and there was like a white space on the top and the bottom row, and they filled that one in with Visions of Mana, and I was like, oh fuck, is there a 6th game? Is there a secret 6th game? Are they about to fucking shadow drop Silk Song?
Okay,
Did not happen. There's 5 games.
Listen, people listening at home, look, Silk Song will arrive when Silk Song is ready. Calm down.
No. I know what you mean. Chris Davis. Of course, that's true. It's going to come out. We're all going to love it. It just may be 2024, it may be 2028. We don't fucking know. But I will say this. I pointed this out in Discord a few weeks ago. I was kind of like, I was trying to find a picture in my camera roll, right? And I was scrolling through. I was going way back in time, right? And I came across the last, not only the last E3 I went to, the last E3 to ever have been held, which was 2019. I found my show floor pictures, and there's a fucking picture of me standing in the Nintendo booth behind somebody playing Hollow Knight Silksong. And it blew my fucking mind. I was like, this game has been in some way. I mean, that was obviously probably just like a vertical slice.
What year was that? I mean,
2019. That was 2019.
Yeah,
so that was
crazy.
The game was playable 4 years ago.
It was playable. This is why when people act like it's vaporware, it's never coming out. It's such a joke. Like, shut up.
Wait,
I forgot. I've watched a human being play it. I didn't play it myself.
You watched a human being play it. You didn't actually play it yourself.
I'm gonna be honest. Well,
why the fuck didn't you play it?
Dude, I'm gonna.
Wait, did you play it?
That's what I'm trying to think.
Is this before you played Hollow Knight 1?
No, because Hollow Knight 1 was on my top 10 that year, so I did play it.
Yeah.
And that was in 2017, if I
remember.
recall.
Well, then I'm very confused.
I remember that E3 because I remember watching footage of people playing that.
You know what I think it was? I think I was in line to play whatever the big Nintendo game was that year at the Nintendo booth. I think I was in line for another game, and the line kind of like went by it went by the row of kiosks, and I was like, as I was standing in line, I think I was watching people play Hollow Knight. Which at the time didn't seem like a big deal. It was like, oh yeah, Hollow Knight, whatever. They're making a new Hollow Knight. That's fucking awesome. Little did I know it'd be 4 years later, and we're still like, every time they speak up and they say anything, it's like, is this the moment? Like, I didn't think we would be here. So I just thought that was really interesting. But anyways, I digress. Microsoft's event today focused on 5 games. Just kind of gonna run down them in order and share some thoughts on them, I suppose. We got they started, the first thing they focused on, I guess we got a deeper look at Avowed, which is the next game from Obsidian. This is a game this is from the Pillars of Eternity franchise, right?
The Outer Worlds and
universe.
No. Pillars of Eternity. This is a Pillars of Eternity universe game.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
I'm just talking about the most recent title they did was The Outer Worlds.
No, it's not. It's Pentiment. What do you mean?
That's right.
I think a lot
and
of
the
people
Honey I Shrunk the Kids game as well. The Honey I Shrunk the Kids game.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
What's that game
Those
called?
are
Get the name of it.
Those are like it I don't even want to say
Grounded.
They also did Grounded. Yeah, I mean,
they did Grounded.
Obsidian is a developer that puts that ships games. You know,
they do. They do. I will never deny that they ship.
You cannot fault them for it.
I will never fault them for that.
People forget they also made South Park: Stick of Truth, and that game was fucking sick.
Yeah,
Obsidian is a good ass developer, which is why I think Avowed was, an okay pick for Fantasy Critic, but ultimately, just because they ship games that people like, don't mean they ship games that always score extremely well.
No,
remember Fallout New Vegas famously didn't hit 85; it was an 84, and no one got their bonuses, right?
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Which is crazy, right? Because now that game's considered just one of the best RPGs ever made now, right? And that's just kind of Obsidian, right? Avowed.
Also, oh god, I just had a thought and I lost it. Fuck, what was I gonna say? Never mind. Go ahead, Brad.
Well, Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 are extremely well received games, like Kickstarter games. They're like both like 89 or some shit on Metacritic. Like very good games. I played the first one. I never played much of the second one, but they're very good games, even though I hate real time with pause. And this is a game. This is basically.
Oh no!
I think we've learned more today that it seems like a much smaller scale, smaller budget game. It's not. It doesn't. This ain't gonna look like the next Elder Scrolls game. This looks more like a.
Here's the thing. I think this maybe has a lot in common in terms of like scope and maybe not visual style, but in terms of quality, maybe. I think this is going to have a lot in common with Outer Worlds.
Well, that's the news that has come out more recently, which actually ended up bumming a lot of people out, is that this is not an open world game. This is more like Outer Worlds. They said like multiple large areas like Outer Worlds, which in a space game you kind of maybe let slide because you're going to different planets, but in a fantasy world, not having one big seamless world, it's kind of a bummer, honestly.
But people love Dragon Age. I don't know what And also,
Yeah,
people love to
Dragon Age is a game
roll
that
their
is
eyes when,
BioWare. It's very character driven, right?
but people love to roll their eyes now when developers are like, it's open world. Everyone's like, oh my god, open. And then the moment someone's like, hey, it's not an open world, people are like, get them. Like it's fucking,
No, I mean it's
it's
different, right?
so
There's Ubisoft
two-faced.
open worlds, but also like people don't play like a BioWare game because they really want to like explore space. It's more about the story of those characters.
Isn't
Obsidian,
that
they've
Obsidian's kind of the same thing? Like
well, I
Obsidian,
mean, they did make KOTOR too, right? But now they make kind of Bethesda style games, right? I mean, with Fallout and Outer Worlds, and this is definitely like their take on Elder Scrolls, and those are games where the appeal, in my opinion, and I think we learned with how some people felt about Starfield, is exploring like this one big seamless world. No matter which direction you walk, you're going to find something interesting shortly. Um, and this, I don't know. Yeah, Outer Worlds is a game that when it came out, people were so mad at Bethesda back then because it was right after Fallout 76, so that Obsidian really leaned into like, or in the fandom really leaned into propping them up as fuck you Bethesda, we don't need you. Obsidian's making a Fallout game, and Outer Worlds was like super hyped going in. Even the reviews were really good. They were like, dude, this is fuck Bethesda, was kind of like the hashtag around Outer Worlds. But then months after Outer Worlds, people were just like, this is all right. It seems like people feel about that game this is kind of the same way they feel about like Fallout 4, right? This is just kind of all right. So maybe Avowed. We haven't talked that much
well,
about
here's the
Avowed.
thing.
This looks kind of budge. I want to be honest with you. It looks pretty budge.
So the entire time I was watching this, I couldn't help but feel, because and it's not their fault. Like, as developers presenting their game in this kind of format, right, where it's highly scripted and they're talking about like the features of their game and while showing gameplay, which I actually really appreciate. I like these kinds of presentations.
Yeah.
They're forced to kind of like talk their game up, right, and like use a lot of like flowery language to describe their systems and like what makes their game special, right? And I couldn't stop thinking about two things. One, all of this sounds really underwhelming in a post Baldur's Gate 3 world. Like, they're talking about like
Yeah.
story and narrative and
Not
like
just a post
decisions and choices and it's
not just a post Baldur's Gate
yeah.
3 world, but a post Starfield world, where I feel like a lot of people have come to the realization that maybe that formula isn't for them anymore. So and I know not everybody felt that way. Some people really liked it. I know, I understand.
Well,
I'm not coming at you. I get it.
But like, so when I look at this and look, I trust in Obsidian. We kind of opened the conversation saying I trust Obsidian. I think they're a good developer. They have good writers, and like I think they're gonna. I think this game is gonna be good. It's a lot more budget than I was expecting. It looks a lot more budget than I was expecting. But now that I mean, when we look at it as a Pillars of Eternity spin-off game, like two games that were kickstarted, right? I think both of them were Kickstarter games. Maybe just the first one. I don't know.
I think both were. Yeah,
both of them, right? Yeah. It's like it makes sense that maybe a game in that universe would be like somewhat smaller scale, and because this does kind of look like budget Elder Scrolls. But you know what? New Vegas kind of looked like budget Fallout, right? A little bit.
Yeah, it did.
It came out a little too soon, and it's like, oh, y'all are just reusing assets. This is just more Fallout because Bethesda Game Studios is going to work on the next big thing.
Reusing assets, while at the same time cutting out things that really they shouldn't have cut out. Yeah. I mean, I think the problem,
but it ended up being the much more impressive Fallout game, Chris Davis, and that's because Obsidian, what Obsidian's good at, shown through in New Vegas, the kind of shit that Bethesda really doesn't pull off as well, which are actually having a story where you have a lot of agency and like interesting characters and writing and whatever. I'm not going to slag on.
So here's my thing is that this presentation, I think the problem with it was that when they were talking about narrative, when they were talking about branching storylines and consequences of your actions, like they were showing the exact wrong things to demonstrate that. Like they go into this sequence with a side quest that they briefly go over and have a few dialogue discussions with characters that go on too long. They don't show like the results of like your actions. Like they say, oh, you say the wrong thing, and yeah, you can get into a fight with them. But like
it doesn't matter what they say, Chris Davis. We're living in a post Baldur's Gate 3 world, and it ain't gonna stack up to that. It's just not.
No, I'm not saying I am saying this in a vacuum of completely ignoring Baldur's Gate. I'm just saying that there was dissonance between what they were talking about and what they were actually showing on screen.
I mean, I don't disagree, but also I do recognize that I think that's probably a hard thing to demonstrate in general.
Of course.
But
I don't know about that. I mean,
No,
they had
I mean,
never shown
15
one.
minutes to demonstrate this.
I mean, the thing is, they had a lot of things they wanted to talk about in the game.
Yeah, they talked a lot about
They
combat.
spent a lot of time, a lot of time on combat and whatnot. But whatever.
Is combat gonna be good? I don't know. I mean,
I
the thing is the bar like? Does it just have to be better than like your typical Elder Scrolls combat? Because that's not a
that's the
hard bar to
question.
clear. That's not a hard bar to clear, right? But it's also not good or not great.
The second thought I was having while watching this is, like Chris David said, Baldur's Gate vacuum. Let's take that out of the equation for a second. Just in general, like the language, and maybe this is just more of a commentary on like the language that's used in this industry these days, and the way developers and publishers talk about their games. Like everything they said about this game is stuff I've heard 1,000 times about 1,000 different games, and it's just kind of like, yes, we get it. Your choices have consequences.
It felt like a scripted marketing script that hits on all the highlights of every other fucking RPG out there without showing us really what defines Avowed from other games.
As far as like the talking head stuff and this whole Microsoft thing was kind of a whiff for me. I feel like none of these games, like I think they had cool games to show. I feel like this is not a good way to show these games.
Oh wow, I'm kind of in the opposite camp. This is kind of how I would prefer to see games shown off most of the time.
Honestly, if compared against like the Sony State of Play and Nintendo Direct, like I think this is the better way to present it.
No, but I'm saying I like when people are kind of walking you through a game, but I would prefer it be more of like a treehouse, like a Nintendo like treehouse thing where they actually have the game in front of them, they're playing it, then they're talking about it with people, right?
I think the problem is those tend to be non-scripted. Those tend to be like,
they're not scripted at all. I'm saying like if you're going to show off a game, show off the game. This is too little produced. It's too produced. It's too slick, and you get a lot of buzzwords, and you get a lot of like, okay, whatever, dude. We'll see, right? You get a lot of like, we'll see, right? You say this combat's fucking awesome, but let me get my hands on it, or let me watch someone actually play the game, and not this fucking. You know what I'm saying? Like this is not a developer direct or whatever. This is still just another type of slick marketing, and it came off as a little like, okay, dude, whatever. And I felt that way about all of the games, honestly. I don't know.
No, that's fair.
You know what I liked? I liked those really good like 7-minute long trailers for like a GTA game. You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, I think Rockstar.
Like, this is what our game's all about.
Rockstar's deep dive into like Red Dead Redemption, like even I think back to the original Red Dead Redemption, like they did like those 10-minute long like let's talk about the world of Red Dead Redemption, and it was just like a narrator talking over a bunch of gameplay being strung together in interesting ways. And like that is one of the most hypest trailers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I agree. I would like to see more of that.
Let the game show itself. While someone talks about the game, but not like a dude, we're so excited. It's gonna be so awesome, man. Just fucking wait. It's.
I mean, it has. I totally agree with you, Brad. But I will say that it does feel nice to have the creative minds behind these games talking about these games instead of marketing people.
I mean,
even if it's a marketing fucking script, it's them saying the words.
Okay, but I mean that's just more of like a good feelings kind of thing, and less of I just want to fucking know all about this game in a non-slick way, and whatever, it's fine. But I mean, right? I'm not the only one who thought this looked
you're right.
a lot more budge than I was expecting.
Avowed specifically? Yeah. I mean, when you think back to the original trailer they showed for Avowed, like when they first announced it, it seemed like it was going to be. It's weird. Like if you think back to that trailer, I don't know if you remember, it was a lot darker and it seemed like it felt like it was something grander, or I don't know. I don't know how to
I mean,
describe
the
it.
original tease was like such a small tease,
Yeah.
and you saw the sword and the magic hand or whatever the fuck, and you were like, okay,
Yeah.
well, it's gonna be like Elder Scrolls. By the way, now there's wands. I'm
Yeah, I was
generally
going to complain about
anti-wands.
that.
I don't like wands.
Why
Like
don't you
I
like
don't mind
wands? What?
wands, but the fact that they took out the hand signs to cast magic, like that,
You
that was one of the
just
big
don't like
teases of that original thing. Like, what the hell?
They took,
You didn't want to put in the budget to animate fingers?
maybe they didn't have the budget to animate fingers, Chris Davis. Take the fingers out.
They had
No, they
Microsoft
had
money.
hands before. They had hands before.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the hands are a very like Elder Scrolls thing, right? But whatever. We should move
Brad's
on.
anti-wand.
The thing is, it's budge. Well, for lots of reasons. I don't want to be using no turf wand.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Jesus fucking Christ.
But no, but really, again, me saying it's budge or that it looks kind of whack, or me ranting in Discord about the loadout change animations or whatever. Look, that doesn't mean I'm not excited to play this game. I trust Obsidian. I like a good fantasy RPG. And I think this is probably going to be a good one, even if it is lower budget. Those Pillars games fucking are rad, dude. And that world's good. We already know that the world and the lore and the writing is good because it was good in Pillars. So that's that part people should be excited about. So yeah.
Okay.
Although final word, dude. They don't use fucking British. Like, what kind of traditional fantasy game uses American accents? I was so thrown off. I was like, this feels so wrong. You elves should be like fucking English, and dwarves should be Scottish, and this just feels off, man.
Why you got a typecast like that, Brad?
I don't like it at all because it is what it is, man. That is your typical.
Feels pretty racist in my opinion.
The world, and we don't want to. It just hits the eardrums wrong.
It's weird.
All right. So they moved on from Avowed, and we actually got probably our deepest look at Hellblade 2 we've had so far. And we got a release date. Hellblade 2 is coming out May 21st. In fact, I was able to quote unquote pre-install it today on my PC, which is interesting.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It just means you're basically just saying you're downloading a very small amount of files that basally says, I want this to install on my PC when they release it.
Wait,
it's Game Pass.
Horseshit. What the fuck did they install on your PC?
4 months in advance? Like what?
Yeah, dude. I did the same thing.
Do they have a date for this?
Yeah, May 21st. May 21st is the release.
May 21st. It's soon. It's soon. So this game, and again, just a symptom of how all the games, I guess, were presented today. If any game needed maybe a more than that style of presentation, I do think it's Hellblade. I feel like the next time they show Hellblade, it needs to be someone playing the game in front of us, or at the very least, or they need to release a demo or something. They cannot. No more talking heads allowed for Hellblade 2. We have seen so much of that.
I will also say this, now that it is close, and I do think, we saw it was still kind of disjointed because of the nature of how they're doing this presentation, right? I do kind of feel like I've seen enough. I don't really feel like I need to see more of this game, because one thing we did kind of glean from this. Well, here's the thing. What we did kind of glean from this is that this is because there's been a question for a long time of what is the true scope? What is the true nature of Hellblade 2? Is it bigger? Is this a much more ambitious sequel, right? Think of for me, I think of going from the Talos Principle 1 to the Talos Principle 2 feels like a huge jump in terms of scope and size and ambition. You know what I mean? And is that the kind of jump we're expecting with Hellblade 2? And I think we got our answer today, which is no. This is, they even said it, this is going to be very comparable in size and scope to the original Hellblade. So we're talking 7 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. They said that?
Yes, they said this is going to be a shorter, cinematic, narrative-driven experience, very similar in length to the original Hellblade. Jeez, this is not some big. This is not like an open world sequel to Hellblade.
That's surprising. So
I know. I don't think there's a problem with there.
I don't specifically have a problem with it. I'm just glad to know the answer, because I think not knowing the answer to that has been driving people crazy. Now that we know,
with it, but I'm surprised because it's been in development for so long, and I assume probably with a lot of people when Ninja Theory got purchased. It was probably Microsoft saying, "Hey, we just bought our own God of War. We'll turn this into some big thing." And a lot of sequels do just get a lot bigger when they're really
Well, they
hyped.
did say, and this is this is one thing they said that I would have liked to have seen. So in this sense, if they show anything else before the game comes out, this is kind of what I want to see, because they did say that this game feels different than the first one in its combat. Like, it controls different, it feels different. They talked about
It's
like
not Punch Out anymore.
yeah, I mean, I think if you're gonna see some of that Microsoft money really shine through outside of like the technical aspect, it sounds to me like they're going for a more ambitious approach to combat specifically. I think like setting and like level design and scope is going to be very similar to the original, and I think the lengthy development time is probably mostly due to just it looks way better, right? Like the technology going into this, it's an insanely good looking game, and I think that's probably where a lot of the time is going.
And this just might be me reading into the tea leaves, but like, so many years after the first game come out, this finally coming out, like, it feels to me like they were doing more than just working on this game. Like, maybe they were doing some support work for another studio, or maybe they've actually got another project that we just don't know about right now.
Well, what's the last game they shipped?
Was
Hellblade.
it Hellblade? I think
No,
it was
it's
Hellblade.
not. It's Bleeding Edge, that
Oh, I
multiplayer
forgot
game.
about that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Man,
Maybe
I forgot about Bleeding Edge.
games as a service game.
I played that game at E3, and it was actually it had potential. It had potential. It had fucking
but
potential.
that also came out March 2020.
Here's the thing. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
April of 2020.
I wouldn't be surprised at all, because like, and here's actually what I really like about Ninja Theory is, like, they don't seem overly interested in making ridiculously large experiences. Like I mean, it's kind of a bummer that it's taken this long for them to make a game like Hellblade 2, especially if it's only going to be like an 8-hour game, right? But like, I like a studio like Ninja Theory who is interested in making games of this size and scope. And like, they made Enslaved, they made DMC, they made Hellblade, and now they're making Hellblade 2. If they can continue to make like new projects like this with this size and of this quality, then I mean, I just don't think you see a lot of studios doing that. So in a sense, like, at the end of the day, I'm not super bummed to hear that this is not like some huge...
I actually kind of wanted like a God of War.
I mean, I think, would it be cool? Would it be cool? Yeah, but like, at the end of the day, what I really care about when it comes to Hellblade is, like, I really liked that character. I liked that story. They did some really interesting stuff, atmospherically, and just creating a vibe that was different. And they did some really cool stuff narratively, and I just want to see them continue to do that, and but with like better technology, and that's, it seems like that's what they're doing. I just want to know more about the combat. I do want to know more about the combat. So if they show anything else before this game releases, I hope it's that.
I just want Kung Fu Chaos 2.
It takes place in like Iceland, which I think is pretty cool.
But like 10th century Iceland, so like it's just Iceland with just more tribe stuff.
She's going after the Vikings who are like who have been like slaughtering her people or whatever. Like, that's kind of like the story of the game. So, I think it looks great. I'm interested in it. I'm excited to play it. It's coming to Game Pass. So, I mean, I think all the games they showed today maybe are coming to Game Pass. I think
every first party they do is coming to Game Pass. So
yeah. It's exciting, and I'm glad it finally has a date. I'm glad I won't have to drop that game for my draft again. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's much more to say about it, but
it looks good. Yeah, I really enjoyed the first game. I'm glad I got around to playing it eventually.
Persuade in chat just name dropped The Northman. If you haven't seen that movie, if you want to get in the mood to play Hellblade 2, go watch The Northman. It's pretty fucking good. All right, and then from here, I can't remember which came first. So they talked about
it don't matter.
Aura
Mana.
or
the new Mana game, right?
Yeah, they did Mana first.
They did Visions of Mana. Did
Visions
anybody
were-
was anybody able to actually like read the subtitles and shit? Because like I
I
couldn't
was
do
just
that.
kind of watching.
Yeah, I was reading them, and really about half of it was about the art style and the monster design.
Yeah.
Because the lead artist is one of the original creators behind the Mana series. So like a lot of his art that he's been making for the past several decades is coming to fruition in this game.
Sure.
And they talked a little bit about the combat. Combat doesn't look like it's for me. It looks way too slow for the character action they're trying to go for.
Let me jump in here.
Yeah, go
Actually,
please.
I don't even have a history with this franchise. To be honest,
I think it's fine. I think this is going to be kind of in line with like the smaller budget. Like I feel like Square Enix has been putting out a lot of B games in the past few years, and one of those games was the remake of Second Densetsu 3, which we never got here, right? It was never localized, and which was the third Mana game, right? Secret of Mana, or
Two, something like that. Yeah.
No, well, 2 is secret. Yeah,
it would have been Secret of Mana 2, but yeah.
But Second Densetsu 3, we never got here, and they did that remake. What was it called? Trials of Mana, right? Mana.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trials of Mana, and this looks like basically a follow up to that, of like whoever the team was that made that. They're like, all right, well, that was well received. It was cool to see a old Super Nintendo game that we never got here, like remade in like a modern like look, but even if it's kind of like not a Final Fantasy VII remake sort of budget, it was cool, right? And
I
people liked
appreciate
it.
the effort they're putting in here. Like to see that come back, to see Live come back, like that. That's the prize too. Yeah.
But Trials of Mana was like just like a full blown like this is I mean it's that same game, but it's like 3D now with 3D. I mean like it was a full blown remake. I mean that first game looked just like Secret of Mana basically. It was a Super Nintendo game. So and I think this is just them trying to going, all right, man, like people liked it. It reviewed pretty well.
Do your thing.
Do your thing. You can make it the next new mainline game in the series, and I think and it looks like it's kind of built on the bones of that, and that game actually it played pretty well. I played a few hours of it before I ultimately put it down just for other things, but so I think this game could end up being like just fine, right? It's just kind of a weird series. Like people forget that there was like this isn't the fourth Mana game, because the fourth Mana game was like some really bad PS2 action RPG. I forget which Mana that one was. I forget.
Wasn't Legend. I forget what it was.
Not Legend of Mana. So Legend of Mana, I don't even think they consider mainline, right? That was the PS1. Dawn of Mana on the PS2.
Leave it to Blonde chat to tell us what that
game
is.
Dog shit. So
that game's dog shit, but he had to play it, didn't he? Or he asked to? I don't know if he's got to it yet.
Played that. Did you play all the Mana games? Anyways, I think it looks fine. I think it's gonna like be fine. Honestly, I think the kinds of people who care about Mana games at this point will play it, and I think they'll have a good time. And the people who don't care about Mana games are not, and no one's going to be upset. So yeah.
The cynical fuck part of me.
It is funny and a little awkward that Xbox is promoting this, because man, it seems like slim pickings with the Square Enix games that they get versus Sony. So I feel a little bad, but whatever.
They're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're friends with Japanese developers. Let's show you. We're going to show you. Visions.
And this isn't exclusive to Xbox, right? This is coming.
No,
this is also coming.
It's multi-platform.
To Nintendo and
yeah. I mean, the cynical fuck in me thinks like 5 years ago, Square Enix executives were looking at the release schedule, and they were like, okay, it's taking us forever to put out Final Fantasy games and Dragon Quest games. We need something in the interim, and so they tried to make a push for Mana. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, you might be right, but there's a lot of people who love those games. So
no, I'm not saying there's
no harm, no
anything
foul.
wrong with the Mana series or Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy. I'm just saying that like it almost feels like Mana is like a tertiary afterthought compared to everything else Square Enix is working on.
It's like a B series. It always has been. I even thought Secret of Mana was overrated back in the day. I think people with the multi-tap just got really amped about having the multi-tap, and it was propped up along with Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger, and it had no business being propped up with those two. So, but whatever, it's fine. The music was good. Seiken Densetsu 3 was a cool game when you had a Super Nintendo emulator and a fan translation patch back in the day. I was there too, trust me. I played it as well.
Let's leapfrog off what you just said, Brad. You talked about a B game. I know they closed.
Are we skipping their little Civ game? That's fine, whatever.
I can't believe it's not Civilization.
We can come back to that. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too presumptuous here. I was like, I don't feel like there's going to be many of us here on this site that are going to play that game. But then again, Chris Davis surprises me sometimes. Maybe that is a game you're going to get into. What is it called? Ara History of the World or something?
Ara History Untold. It's from a newish developer called Oxide. It's mainly X4Axis and other kind of 4X developers that I think they were part of the big Microsoft like 10 Studio acquisition years ago.
Yeah.
This is them doing their own like Civilization.
I think it looks pretty cool. I just don't play those kinds of games. So you know what I mean?
I only care if it scores well in Fantasy Critic, and if it doesn't, let's move on.
It looks like they're doing their best. This is very legally distinct from Civilization, but you're going to get all your kicks out of it. So like, look, Civ 5, great game. Civ 6, great game. This game is only going to have a problem if they announce Civ 7 for this year, which there's a strong possibility of that.
It could happen.
Well, unless I want to see your Fantasy Critic dollars. You know, put your money where your mouth is, Chris Davis.
No, I put money on Civ 7.
No, bid it now. Do it now.
Do it now.
Let's see the spice.
Make it happen, Chris Davis.
You are addicted to spice, Brad.
$23 because Crispy might bid $22.
No, I'm gonna be honest, Brad. Here's this would be the fucking funniest thing in the world. If one of those unhinged draft picks that Chris Davis had comes true.
Unhinged?
Either Metroid Prime 4 or Donkey Kong, unannounced Donkey Kong game. If either one of those games gets shown and comes out this year, forever going forward, Chris Davis is like the tea leaves. Like, you know, whatever unhinged pick, people are gonna be like looking to him like okay. Like, look, it is less about like Chris Davis making crazy decisions and more about, oh my God, which game is he going to will into existence this year?
No,
I'm going to be the Puxatawny Phil of video games.
I read the same fucking rumor threads that he's reading. I'm just know that doesn't make it a smart draft.
No, I know that. But like my point is, if a second miracle occurs, like Mortal Kombat 1 from last year, Chris Davis's draft is going to be like the Magic 8-Ball. It's
I guess. Which one?
I hope it happens. I fucking hope it happens.
Metroid Prime 4 comes out and is good because
me too.
I need that to happen.
It means literally if that happens, it means literally next year when we're doing our draft, the first time Chris Davis has something that I'm excited about that doesn't exist yet, I'm gonna be like, fucking yes, thank you. It's gonna be amazing. But that we have to have a pattern.
He also thinks that Moon Studios game's coming out of early access.
A pattern has to
I didn't know that was going into early access, so
yeah, you're right. That's actually a real thing. I always have a fear of that. I'm always trying to do the research to find out if something's launching in early access or 1.0 because that's potentially scary.
Yeah.
Okay.
I honestly didn't know. Anyway,
let's talk about it. We finally got our first look at Machine Games, Indiana Jones, and the Great Circle. A really underwhelming title, but also rumored. We kind of knew the title was going to be going into this. I think that exact title was circling before we even saw this. But couple things right out of the gate that's really surprised me about this trailer. One, the moment I saw Harrison Ford's face, I was like, what? Because obviously they're not using Harrison Ford's voice. Like, that would be ridiculous. So we got Troy Baker. We know that now. But like, the craziest thing about this whole like 15-minute ordeal, like talking about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, they use Harrison Ford's voice.
What else do you do?
I was like 100% certain before this that they were going to create, it was just going to be like a generic character that they created to fill the shoot. Because like, to make someone look like Indiana Jones, you throw a hat, you throw the hat, you know the clothes to give him the whip. Boom, you got a hair. I mean, it's like
you haven't. You obviously haven't looked at all the other Indiana Jones games, which all do not do that.
No.
They're all Harrison Ford lookalikes.
I know. Listen, I'm going somewhere with this. Okay, I'm going
Okay.
somewhere with this because I thought there was a couple things that were very strange about this, and I'm still having trouble wrapping my head around it. This entire 15-minute presentation about Indiana Jones, one of the first things you see, they do like this big lead up and reveal. It's Harrison Ford's face, right? Not once in that entire thing, when they're talking about the legacy of the series, the impact it's had on film and pop culture, they name drop all the movies. Nobody once says Harrison Ford's name the entire time. You're seeing his face, and everyone's, you know, the entire time I'm sitting here thinking like, well, who's doing the voice? Blah blah blah. Like, what is Harrison Ford's involvement in this? No one even says his name once. Not even talking about the films, which I thought was kind of crazy. But the second thing I wanted to point out, and this is, you know, you talk about like they've made other Indiana Jones games where they use Harrison Ford's likeness, which is true. But like the entire time I'm watching this, I'm like, they don't make games like this anymore. They don't make licensed video games like this anymore. This feels like the last time I saw a game like this, it was like the PS3 or something, you know?
A single player action adventure is what you mean?
Single player licensed action adventure games.
Like Guardians of the Galaxy.
This was given. Guardians of the Galaxy was not based off of the movies. It was not based off of. It was based off of the Marvel characters, Guardians of the Galaxies, and I feel like that's a totally different thing. Like that. Like this felt like a movie. This almost felt like a movie tie-in. It's not, obviously, but this was giving me strong 007 Bloodstone vibes the entire time I'm watching it, which is not a bad. I'm not saying that
than Bloodstone.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing because as a big Bond fan, I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed Bloodstone probably way more than most people.
That's certainly true.
Also, like it reminds me. Okay, if you want me to use a different analogy, that's kind of that.
How about Riddick?
Realm? I was gonna maybe Riddick, but I was also gonna say it felt like Nightfire, right? Back when they were using Pierce Brosnan, Bond or whatever. It just, you know, it wasn't a tie-in. It was an original story with the same likeness, not using the voice, but it just wasn't, you know, it's not Call of Duty. I'm trying, for lack of a better comparison, right? It's not like Call of Duty. It's not like this huge AAA bombastic thing. I don't know. It looked kind of budget to me, which made me think this is not like AAA. I mean, here's the thing. Don't take this as me trying to be negative about this, because I am going to play it. I am excited for it. I like machine games a lot too. I really liked Wolfenstein, so I'm going to play this.
Is Wolfenstein AAA?
Yeah,
I would say so.
Yeah, I think
Does this look less than Wolfenstein?
To me, it kind of did. It kind of did. But maybe we just need to get a better look at it. Like I still don't really know how this game is structured.
I mean, the entire presentation was built around that trailer and then little alternate B-roll cuts that were very, very limited in what they showed. So, like, yeah, they're certainly going to show us like dedicated gameplay, like 8-10 minutes later on this year.
Well, I have no doubt. I have no doubt we'll see more of this game before it comes out. All I can talk about right now is what we saw today.
You're going to hear the Indiana Jones theme as you play the game?
Oh, that was that was another thing. That was another thing that I thought was really kind of funny.
I have a second part to that question. If they play the Indiana Jones theme as you play the game, does that mean when the punches sync up to the music is that something that happens in game, or is that just a trailer thing?
That's just a trailer thing. That was editing.
Okay, but if the music is playing while you're punching, then it is possible that your punches could sync up to the music in that really corny way.
I mean, would you have a problem with that? Because I feel like that'd be pretty good.
I would not only not have a problem with it, I would only punch dudes when that part of the song comes up.
Okay.
No, real quick. They mentioned they were starting to talk about the music, right, and how iconic the music was, and they name drop John Williams, and I literally thought they were about to finish with, so we got John Williams to make the soundtrack, and then it's like, so we were so lucky to get. And they mentioned I'm sorry, I don't have his name in front of me. I'm not saying he's bad or anything, but it was just
Gordy
like
Hobb.
they just made it sound like they were about to say, we got John Williams to do the soundtrack for this game, and I was like, oh shit! And then there's like, wait, who? It was just there was just so many kind of like weird kind of. I don't want to say red.
This guy's done a number of games. He actually worked on an Indiana Jones game previously.
Okay.
Sweet.
I mean,
was
I'm
it
not
the
trying
one
to.
original Xbox, the Emperor's Tomb? That shit was sick.
No, the Staff of Kings, the one that was on the PS2 and Wii.
Oh,
I'm not trying to call into question his quality. It was just one of those silly things. You know, what do y'all think about the game? What we did see, right?
I'm hyped. I'm looking forward to it.
Give me more than that.
Not enough, Chris Davis.
So here's the thing: is that the entire presentation for 15 minutes was based around a 90-second trailer that introduces the characters, the concept of the first-person combat.
And then they just kind of reuse that footage throughout the whole thing, right?
And it's basically that little bit of B-roll cuts that they intersplice every now and then just to show, oh yeah, there's more to this game than just us showing the trailer. And I think they did a good job of saying, yes, this is an Indiana Jones game. We've kind of nailed the character arc. We've kind of nailed the personification of the combat from Indiana Jones. I think they got that down. The only significant complaint I have from this game or this presentation, and this is something that could be easily fixed somewhere between now and release sometime later this year.
Yeah, we're not going to hold your feet to the fire here. We're just talking about what we've seen.
We will. Yeah. He drafted.
The only complaint.
Never mind.
is the sound of the punches, because the sound of punches in an Indiana Jones film are bombastic and iconic, and you cannot think of an Indiana Jones combat scene without just those great fucking smacks, and they weren't in here.
Gotta have the smack.
You gotta have that punch, and it wasn't there. But that's just a sound effect. That's art that was always canned, and that's easily something you
There's
can
even
fix.
a Wilhelm scream in this trailer.
Oh, they're legally obligated to have a Wilhelm scream practically.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You got to do that. And can I also say I really do appreciate that even though this is not a Wolfenstein game, we're still fighting Nazis.
Yeah, they have a real
Gotta
thing
love
about
Machine
fighting
Games.
Nazis, which
Fucking love the studio.
That's great.
I desperately want them to get away from Wolfenstein, and now we're still fighting Nazis. I know it's not Wolfenstein.
I will fight you to the death, Brad, for that statement. How fucking dare you?
Well, okay. I get what Brad's saying. It's more of just kind of like, okay, they're finally moving away from Wolfenstein, and it's kind of a shame to see them almost not.
It might as well just be Wolfenstein.
Almost pigeonhole
With
themselves
Harrison
into
Ford.
doing the same game. It's like you're playing Wolfenstein with a fucking whip, okay? which you know.
That sounds awesome. Yes.
Ew.
Don't get me wrong. I'm all for killing Nazis and whatnot. This is great. And I like Indiana Jones, but you know, I get where Brad's coming
Maybe
from.
Nazis, like, you know, in like a cool like car combat game or something. I don't know, just something fucking different.
Like Twisted Metal, Machine Games makes Twisted Metals with but not, it's all Nazis in the opposing cars.
So, Brad, are you of the camp that you don't like the fact that this is mainly a first-person game?
I mean, look, the one.
I think if this game was in third person, it'd look even more budget.
The one Indiana Jones game I like was the Emperor's Tomb because it was so much like a Tomb Raider game. And when it's in first person, it's like it can't really be a Tomb Raider game.
Here's the thing: is that you take Indiana Jones and you make it third person. Okay, how do you distinguish that from Uncharted?
Well, don't make it like Uncharted. Make it like Tomb Raider.
How?
Huh?
Literally, I don't understand. How is the lay person out there going to look at this and say, "Oh, how is this not just a reskinned Uncharted game?" I mean, and besides, Machine Games,
right now
they have been making first-person games for 20 years. They know how to make a first-person game. So just let him do it.
Sure.
No.
Sure,
I don't think anybody
like,
here is going to battle over the whole choice of
that's
first
true. I've
person
never
over
played
third
Infernal
person.
Machine. Wazoo's saying it's straight up Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Which
Like,
maybe
there's a good variety of Indiana Jones games that have been made over the past 3 decades.
But look, all I'm just saying is you can do a third-person game and have it not be Uncharted. Uncharted is just like a fucking shooter. There's not even like puzzles in Uncharted. You know, I mean, you could still have a good Indiana Jones game that's not Uncharted.
I mean, here's the
know.
thing.
Also, Uncharted is successful. Why do you not want people thinking it's like Uncharted? What's wrong?
Okay,
with them?
that's a rhetorical question, Chris Davis. Here's the thing. I think I would rather them take a stab at making an Indiana Jones game, and in the interest, like I don't. There's no world in which I want this game to come out and be disappointing or bad or whatever, right? So like, they're good at first person games. If that's in the best interest of making sure this is a good Indiana Jones game and not some, flop,
Actually, the
right?
best Indiana Jones game was that LucasArts point-and-click adventure game, right?
Yeah, The Fate of Atlantis.
Damn, they've made a lot of Indiana Jones games, huh?
There have been a lot, man.
Lego Indy was pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, look. There's a whip in this game, which I think could be really cool. Here's what I really just want to know, and I think this is going to make a big difference. And this is honestly what I'm a little nervous about, because I have a sneaking suspicion this game is going to be pretty linear.
So
I don't.
I mean, Wolfenstein is, right?
Yeah. This is what this is. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to.
They've never made anything that wasn't a linear video game.
I know. Which has me a little concerned. I don't know. I
don't think that's an issue, because this is a video game based on a licensed movie series.
Right.
Okay.
Again, they don't really. I just can't believe it's 2024 and they're making a licensed movie video game again. I don't know. It's so weird. I can't wrap my head around it.
This is not a movie video game, though.
Dude, the moment I saw Harrison Ford's face, I was like, oh no.
Well, the moment you saw Vin Diesel's face didn't make Butcher Bay bad. Butcher Bay was sick as hell.
Yeah.
But again, that came out at a time when like these like movie tie-in but like not movie tie-in licensed games were like a really common thing, and I feel like they just stopped making those, and all of a sudden we're going back in time, and suddenly this is just I just feel like we're taking a trip back in time, which is not a bad thing. But here's my concern. If it's first person and it's linear, I can't help but feel like it's going to be a shooter, and I don't really want it to be a shooter, because Indiana Jones is not
it's not a shooter.
Punch.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Bum, bum, bum.
Like they didn't even actually show like gun combat. Like
he fired a gun once.
He points a pistol and it cuts away before the shot. Like it's.
They also only talked about puzzles and platforming, like once or twice.
They showed some puzzles, and they mentioned that there will be a lot of optional puzzles that you will discover throughout the game that you don't have to do.
Quote-unquote platforming was just sort of the boring, like Uncharted traversal from the glimpse we saw, right? Sidle up the
pipe and all that. Yeah.
You know what? Maybe video games are just bad. And the reason they're bad is because people should be making games kind of like Hitman instead of games like...
No, then I never play them.
Well...
It's a damn shame then, Nick.
We won't be sad.
But all of us will be having fun.
Like, I really hope that James Bond game is not like some linear game with like a fucking face, of what's his face?
Daniel Craig. Like, here's the thing.
Daniel Craig.
This is what I'm saying.
Make a fucking Hitman game. Make an interesting game first, and then put Indy on top of it.
Well, first of all, I think IO Interactive has already confirmed that this is not a Daniel Craig. They're not going to just slap Daniel. Like they're making an original Bond. Like it's not based off of any particular character, which is why again I felt like I was kind of like shocked when I saw Harrison Ford's face and then heard somebody else doing his voice. It's just kind of shocking. I went into this fully expecting them to be like, we're doing our own spin on Indiana Jones. This is a completely original adventure. Like, it honestly felt to me like even using Harrison Ford's likeness was probably something in the contract on Lucasfilm's side, saying you can make this game, but you have to use Harrison Ford's face because
it doesn't make sense not to use it. I mean,
Yeah, like if you have like, I'm pretty certain Harrison Ford went ahead and sold his likeness to Disney. Okay.
yeah, sure. I'm
So
sure
like, if they have it, why not use it? Number one, and number two, like, it is his face is so distinct in cinema, in fiction,
well,
really.
Of course it is.
Like,
well, it's not
if
just
you
that,
did not
it's just
have
that-
Harrison Ford there, you know, without the hat, like, how the fuck would anybody immediately realize I'm looking at an Indiana Jones product?
Yeah, exactly. Harrison Ford is
Context
Indiana
clues,
Jones. It's
man.
not like,
Context
well, you know,
clues.
this is based on the books, so it's not Harrison Ford, or it's not like, like Star Wars has like this whole extended universe. You could just create characters because there's so much lore in that world, and it doesn't fucking matter. But Indiana Jones is just Harrison Ford.
You know what I thought this was also going to be? I thought, and even maybe even more so after I started seeing like what the game actually was. This is also reminds me of like the Bourne Conspiracy. I thought this was going to be like literally they have the rights to the character, and here's this like vanilla recreation that doesn't look anything like the actor that plays him, but like, I don't know. I just can't get over. I just can't get over.
Wanted it to be like Mist.
Okay.
No.
I think the thing, Nick, is that you're thinking back to a time in which these companies were cash flush and they were able to order these products years out, but then the stock market turned.
What are you talking
about? And we had the
about?
recession.
Okay,
and then those. I'm just trying to spell out why those games went away. Those companies.
Mobile phone games happen. That's where licensed games went. Hey, let's move on. I have one final question, and it's the important one. What do you think this is going to score on Metacritic? Chris Davis, go. Open Critic, sorry.
84, maybe 85.
84, maybe 85. Okay, we'll see.
If I had to throw my hat in the ring, based off of what we saw today, I would say a 75 or a 77.
Wow!
I think that's criminal.
But here's the thing: I love plenty of games that score like that. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But we only care about the numbers when it comes to Fantasy Critic.
Dude, one of my favorite games of the year last year was a 74. I don't care. I'm just saying. It's just.
You didn't draft it. You counterpicked it, and this is a cold, calculated game.
I think this is a trust in machine game scenario. Like, I think they're going to put out a quality product.
I kind of agree with Chris Davis there. I mean, machine games, they put out quality stuff. So.
But they also put out what was the Wolfenstein game that was co-op that didn't really do
Youngblood? They did not. Okay, common misconception. Arcane did most of the work for that.
Oh, that hurts even more.
And we know Arcane sucks. So.
Oh god, that hurt even more. Fuck. Oh. Okay. Sorry, Chris Davis. You don't get worked up over it. I'm excited for this game. I'm gonna play it.
Yeah.
It looks really good to me. I want to see more of the combat. Right. I think it still has some stuff to prove. I think we need to see a dedicated full-length cinematic action sequence. I think we need to see more of the combat. I think we definitely need to see more of the puzzles and the traversal.
Oh! We haven't even talked about him jumping from the wing of one plane to the next, right? I was like, I don't think that's how that works.
That's the definition of a scripted sequence, right?
No, that's a scripted sequence.
No, I know, but I'm just like, they're like, of course, you're gonna have really cool like scripted set pieces, right? But like, just physics, right? I don't think you can do that.
There was like a turret sequence. It does have big licensed game, B game energy. I see where both of y'all are coming from, but I feel like Wolfenstein had kind of big moments like that too.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Oh my god, Wolfenstein was filled to the brim with them, and they were so good.
We have all year to talk about this game. We've made a 3-person podcast longer than a 5-person podcast.
They said we couldn't do it. We did it anyways. All right, let's wrap it up with the 4-player minute, guys.
That says a lot about how much the other people talk, I suppose. Fuck. It's all
right, let's wrap it up with the 4-player minute. It's been a while since we've done this. Brad, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure.
Final
I kind
thought.
of went lazy this. Well, no. I
You want to
didn't just
start
do
the
a
year
bunch
off
of
lazy?
hypes. I didn't do one. No, it's y'all who are all like, mine are all hypes this week. No. Oh, that's right. We do a final thought. Well, mine's not a final thought. Fuck.
I think
My hype
we've
is
established this. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah. My
Just keep
hype
it
is
brief.
for Like a Dragon 8, which is
Yeah.
coming out very soon. It looks so good. There's an Animal Crossing in that game. They made an Animal Crossing in Yakuza. I can't wait. It's gonna be so good. So good. Oh my god. Just Cowboy Kiryu. You remember, right? Cowboy Kiryu was my dream. My literal dream game was Cowboy Kiryu, and I'm getting Cowboy Kiryu this month. I can't fucking wait.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. Okay, and my fuck you for this week goes to Tekken 8. Also comes out. I like Tekken. I'm excited about Tekken, but there's no Julia Chang, and they pretty much like none of the ladies from Tekken 7 that they introduced. No Josie, no Katarina, no Chloe, no Kazumi, no Lydia. She was that cool DLC character, and all the dudes are back, like fucking Claudio and Shaheen and shit. I mean, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Where's Julia? Even the first
The
DLC
answer
character is
is
just
DLC season pass.
yeah, and they announced the first one, and it's Eddie with a bad haircut. It's not Julia, so I'm mad. Even Master Raven, Tekken 7 introduced a lady version of Raven, which was just like the Wesley Snipes looking ninja character from Tekken 5.
That just made me
7
think of.
introduced a lady version of that
Hmm.
character, and then they just brought back the dude version. They're like, nope, we just hate women, I guess. I don't know what's going on. My second hype is Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Yo, I think this is gonna be a big one, y'all. I can't wait. I'm
Did I
I'm
pick?
at 11.
Did I do a good job? Was my
I
first pick
turned
okay?
on.
For all of our sakes, I hope you did a good
I
job.
booted up and started playing the Yuffie DLC again, and I'm like, "Oh, wow, this shit is cool. This shit is good. This stuff is good. Like, Square Enix fucks up a lot, these days, right? And I feel like they have a lot of like kind of wet farts, and obviously Final Fantasy series is in shambles, but the mainline stuff is in shambles. Maybe I don't know, but man,
It depends on who you ask.
seven remake was sick, and this one looks like it's gonna be. We're finally getting the one we've been waiting for, right? The dream of the Final Fantasy 7 remake. Once
We're
they get out of
finally out of
Midgar,
Midgar. I think is
we're
what you're
getting
trying to
it
say.
a month from now. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy. Um, my sweat. So I'm gonna say it continues to be Rise of the Ronin. I saw like a big update on the PlayStation blog, and they're like, "Oh, here's all this stuff." It's not video and stuff. It's just kind of like, and it's about this historical figure and this historical figure and this historical figure, and there's going to be more of a story focus on this one, and combat is going to be. They're using buzzwords like accessible combat, which is not what you want to hear from a Team Ninja game. You don't want to hear story, and you don't want to hear accessible combat. um I'm scared. I'm actually a little scared. If it's a completely grounded story. It's a grounded story about historical figures, story focused, from Team Ninja, who is like famously shit at telling a story. My god, I do not want a story focused game from Team Ninja. Boo, boo. From the writers of Metroid Other M. No, I do not want a story from these people. They make Ninja Gaiden games. I don't. Stop it. Stop it. And don't make my combat accessible. Wo Long was already like a dumbing down, streamlining of that combat from Neo, and it was a bummer. Don't do that. And my final what
It's
of the
Christ
week,
bread.
I have a what? I have a what? A WUT is I saw like a little write up on the Tomb Raider 1 through 3
Oh
remaster,
yeah.
and they're doing modern controls, which again, if you're a classic Tomb Raider nut like I am, that doesn't even kind of make sense. And I'm literally fascinated to find out how that's implemented, because it doesn't make any fucking sense. You know how like when you played classic Resident Evil with like modern controls, it's like, well, it wasn't built this way. It doesn't make sense because I walk this way and now it's a different camera angle. It's fucked, right? Imagine that with like precision platforming. I'm saying like it literally just doesn't make sense. Why are they doing this? Yeah, so that's my what of the week. That's all.
All
That's
right.
all from me. Continue. Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
Chris Davis, you're up.
Okay. I mean, my final thought right now is getting through our game of the year stuff. we put out the Game of the Year podcast, I usually waited until like I could meld that with the rest of the presentation from the top 10 videos, but I figure we probably need to get that out sooner rather than later. But at least the structure is pretty much done. Just need the final audio and video assets from these guys, and I can start churning these out.
I'm gonna be getting mine to you probably by Saturday.
Yeah, but every time this comes around, like I kind of force myself to not play video games. Like Trepang 2 was just like a weekend fling, because it's just such a short game. Yeah, it was a treat myself moment. But I always reward myself with a brand new game, and that's going to be Infinite Wealth when it comes out later this month.
Nice.
In the interim, I've just been catching up on some TV. I watched all the way. I watched Monarch all the way through. Enjoyed that.
Oh yeah. I didn't even realize that was a TV show until like it was over.
It's a legal obligation for me. I have to watch it. So.
Well, yeah, of course.
And then I watched all of Ted Lasso, and liked that. That was a really good show.
And something tells me you also watched Saltburn.
No,
what?
I don't think so.
That doesn't seem like your flavor. Never mind.
I don't even know what that is, so I couldn't tell you one way or the other.
Does.
Yeah. All I can say is thank you, Best Buy, for having a 3-month deal on free Apple TV Plus, because I'm not renewing because fuck Apple.
But you did watch Severance, right?
No.
You motherfucker. You had an Apple TV subscription, you didn't watch Severance?
I got the subscription like 2 weeks ago. I've got 2.5 months to go. I can watch it.
Okay. Oh God, watch Severance. Watch Severance.
Is that the Rupert Murdoch? Not like
No.
or what? No. What is? Okay.
No.
Then I have no idea what this is.
We'll talk later. It's just add it to your list. Watch it.
Succession. Okay.
No. Right. Succession's on HBO.
Okay. Oh God, HBO. All right.
Those are very different shows.
Yes, Severance is definitely not Succession. Anyways.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Cool. All right. Is that your full final thought?
I'm just gonna leave it there. Yeah. I got no other video games to talk about. So
cool. Well, then my final
history
thought
of our economy.
My final thought.
Let's go.
My final thought for the week. So I am wrapping up my video, which I have been let's just say I've been struggling with my list this year a lot. I am gonna do a kind of a shorter like honorable mentions video for like all the games that I really wish I could have put on my list, but I didn't. It'll be shorter, but I do want to talk
just
about
do a
some of those
second
games.
top 10, you coward.
I mean, I thought about it. I mean,
you can do it. I'll make it for you. You just gotta record your audio.
I know, but like first I want to get my main video done, then I'll worry about that. But I have scripts for like most of everything at this point. But I'm also starting to get excited about what's to come in 2024. So like the first game, I was really, really pleased to see what happened with Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown. I'm actually very excited to play that. I picked it up today, and it's actually been kind of the thing that finally spurred me into setting up Sunshine and Moonlight on my Steam Deck and my PC, per Brad and Ed's recommendation. So I am going to be experimenting with that probably right after this podcast to kind of get it set up.
Let's all do a watch party for that Jake Gyllenhaal Prince of Persia movie. Get real hyped about this new Prince of Persia game.
I forgot that existed. But
yeah, it's not a good movie.
I mean, yeah, who didn't see that coming? But yeah, I'm really excited to play that game, and I'm really excited to kind of delve into Moonlight on my Steam Deck. I'm gonna try it out on other things too. I'm gonna go fucking if it works well, I'm gonna go play Starfield while laying in bed. That sounds pretty chill to me. Among other things,
Like
in
Baldur's
fact,
Gate, maybe.
like there's actually quite a few games I'm trying to capture footage for my top 10 video, but I have to, because I finished the games and they don't have like level selects or like because they're not level based. I have to like, unless I want to record like just the very opening segments of those games, I have to like blow through the opening chapters or whatever to get something better, and that's a fucking tedious slog when I'm trying to like.
What game are you talking about?
I'm actually like 3 games that I'm currently trying to capture footage for that are all on my list. That I have a very specific idea of what I want to capture, but I have to get through the opening stuff.
Well, are they on PC?
Why don't you have?
Because you could just download a save.
Nah, I mean it's just annoying. It's really just annoying.
Feels like one of those games.
Also, just on a kind of a side note, whatever, I tried something new this year, but I didn't really start it until like halfway through the year. But I started capturing and hoarding footage of everything I was playing on my PC, and now that I have a second hard drive, I'm kind of starting to do that more and more. So like this year, by the time we get to the end of 2024 and it's time to send footage to Chris Davis, I'm not even gonna have to capture shit. I'm just gonna
I really appreciate you actually following through what I've been preaching for 5 years. Yes.
Oh fuck.
But what are you gonna do?
So much easier now, isn't it?
What are you gonna do if Chris Davis dies?
Jesus fucking Christ.
Then you're gonna have all this footage.
Brad?
And who's gonna do it? What I'm just saying, you never know. Maybe you're storing out too many acorns for no reason, Nick. Maybe you need to get out there and live a little bit. What if there are no top 10 videos because he's dead?
Somebody clip this out so you can use it at Brad's eventual trial.
This took a dark turn.
I mean, I guess this footage would only be useful if you die and they suspect foul play. I mean, if it's something like boring,
I kind of want to fade out right here.
Like you slip in your tub, you slip getting into your tub.
I slip in my tub, sure, yeah. While you wipe your fingerprints as you leave the building, yeah.
Speaking of tubs, when I was younger, we used to as a compliment to a lady, we'd be like, "I drink her bath water." You know what I mean? This is right?
That was a couple years ago, Brad.
Let me tell you. Well, no. A couple of years ago, I brought up that I used to use this as a young teenager. I don't currently use it. I drink her bath water. Let me tell you, I watched that Saltburn movie, and I do not feel the same way about the drinking of bath water. I am horrified about the drinking of bath water, and I will never, ever even think that comment ever again.
I am afraid to learn what this actually means.
God.
This is the first time I feel compelled to watch Saltburn.
That should not be a reason you want to watch Saltburn. That should be a reason you don't want to watch Saltburn. My God. It was horrifying.
Okay. Cool.
That's all.
You know what, guys? Let's just leave it. Let's just end it there. Thank you so much for listening.
What a way to end it.
4playernetwork.com is our website. You can find all of our podcast episodes there. But more importantly, be sure to join us in Discord at discord.gg/4player. As soon as I get through this top 10 stuff, I'm going to start trying to get back into streaming weekly. It's been a while since I've been doing that. I apologize. But also, we are recording this on a Thursday night this week, but that's mostly because of unforeseen circumstances. So next week we'll be back to our normal Tuesday night schedule at 8 p.m. So if you need to update your calendar, make sure you do that. But anyways, yeah, thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back next week. Keep an eye out for our top 10 videos, and thank you everyone in advance who does take the time to watch them. I do appreciate that. We appreciate that. And we'll see you guys in Discord, and we'll see you next week on the show. Have a lovely evening. Good night.